Everybody, you are tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network.
Are you sure?
Yes, it is at this point.
Right. What?
I'm on your host for the next few hours, along with Mike. Hello. And Merle is joining us this morning.
Greetings, gentlemen. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Welcome, Merle.
Our number is 919-518-9773. Computers 2K voice on Skype. We're having some technical problems here.
Hey, it's me, Spencer, on 9773.
Why?
My internet is down.
Wow.
It's been down. I thought it was up this morning. I turned on the computer. Everything's ready to go, and I forgot. This is down. So the only way I can call is on my cell phone. I have no notifications whatsoever.
That's not all bad.
Ouch.
No, I know it's not all bad. But we've been the Time Warner has flaky. Every night it seems like it's out for several hours. And because my name is not on the account, I can't call to complain. So I'm trying to fix that too.
Well, whose name is
the account? I can't call to complain. So I'm trying to fix that today.
Well, whose name is on the account? Your daughter?
My daughter's name, yeah.
Then have your wife call.
Yeah, that's true. She could be her.
You could always call a silly voice.
Get Steve to call.
For last several days.
Take it over, Mike. I'm going to do sound.
Are you making fun of my voice?
Yeah, just because I've been a smoker my whole life. What are you talking about?
What do you mean I sound like a man?
Oh.
Well, if you got with an English accent, they wouldn't care whether you were male or female. They would just say, well, that's fine because you've got a great accent, apparently.
Yeah. Well, at least you recognize it is an accent.
I have a great indicator. It tells me if the internet's on or off. I just have to peek into my office and look at the UMA box, and if it's flashing, I know the internet's down. So I have my own little warning light.
So you don't have any carrier to your modem or your...
No, the modem is up. That's what's so strange. I mean, I can get a IP address to my router. I can, but I cannot ping anything. I can't even ping the DNS. I get the DHCP. It works, but I can't get anywhere. So it's...
Sounds like you lost an amplifier out on the street.
Probably. So it's either one-way communications or something weird going on, although both send and receive are on the modem.
Do they provide your telephone service as well?
No, well, I do it not through Time Warner. No, I do it through...
Okay, because they expedite repair when you also have telephone service with them. Have you, you can, one of the best ways to contact them is through Twitter.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing that. I just log in from my phone.
Yeah. It's
that's a good idea.
TWC, I forget exactly what it is, but they actually monitor their Twitter account. I guess they don't like people complaining publicly. Boy, that's interesting.
Well, we were waiting to redo our service anyway. We were considering what we were going to do, and because it's in my daughter's name, and we were going to, and she's still on Earthlink. So we were considering what we were going to do and change the account, drop the account, whatever. We weren't sure. And with us, Pam and I going away for 6 months, he was actually considering just having internet and just dropping cable completely. So we were...
Who's going away for 6 months?
I am.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Alaska.
For 6 months?
6 months, yeah, for the summer.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. We've been working on it for a while. I mean, it's still, Pam is interviewing this week. I already have a job. I've interviewed and had an offer. And I didn't say much about it because a lot still has to happen, but we're very close now to, I mean, I'd have to leave in 6 weeks. I'd have to be on my way up there for training because the job I took is as a driver guide, which means I had to get my CDL for bus and get trained on all the. Yeah, so we've been wanting to do this for years, and it just seems like the longer we wait, the harder it's going to be, and we're going to give it a try. It's one of those bucket list type, try it once in your life type things.
Interesting. So, I didn't know that. I did not even know that you were working on that.
Well, I really didn't want to say much about it till it was looking better. But, yeah, we had gone to Alaska back in 2007 on vacation for our 30th anniversary. And we liked it so much, we said, we should really consider doing this someday. And then when the plan was to retire from Nortel, when I reached the age where I could get medical benefits, and then that blew up. So it's delayed everything by a few years. So,
where's the best place you've been on vacation, Merle?
Well, I don't know if you'd call it vacation, but one time I got to go to Australia for about 9 days for work. So that was kind of interesting.
When?
That was back in 2006. 2006.
Never been there.
Oh, that was a fantastic. If you ever get a chance, go. It's a long plane ride, but the people are fantastic. The food is good. It's expensive, but they're just a nice people.
Why is everything more expensive than here?
That's a good question.
Everywhere you go, it's more expensive. I want to go somewhere where it's cheap.
Cheap, yeah. I'm sure you can pick a third world country.
I went to Australia twice. Once was in '99 and again in 2002. And that was when the exchange rate was still in our favor. And it was in '99. It was actually, well, I was there on the company, so I didn't have to pay my own living expenses per se. But it was inexpensive compared to traveling and even in the U.S. But now the exchange rate is not so great.
Well, it's sure every time you want to go. I mean, every time you even want to leave North Carolina and go somewhere, it's expensive. Try to go see Andrew in New York, and I mean, you have to refinance the house. It's insane. I guess we have it made, right?
Yes, we do.
We're spoiled.
Thank goodness for the internet.
Yeah. I mean, Steve's living over there in high dollar country too.
Extremely, but then as you keep pointing out, we have free NHS.
Yes. Free, totally free.
What do they call it? A staycation?
I don't know. I mean, I've done some pretty good traveling with my company as well, but I would go places and my wife would say, "Well, how was it?" And I said, "Well, it looked an awful lot like concrete and hotel rooms to me."
Yep.
Not exactly like you have a whole lot of time to go out and do things.
It's either a taxi cab, waiting in the airport, talking in a conference room, or sleeping.
And always freezing. They always have the air conditioner cranked down. Last time I went to a conference in Austin, Texas, they had the thermostat cranked down to about 64, which I don't like.
It's bad when you wake up in the middle of the night and you have to look at the phone to figure out where you are. As you wake up, it's dark. It's like, oh, what hotel am I in again? What city am I in again?
Been there, done that.
Yeah, that's not fun. That's to the point where you can't wait to get home.
I'm not positive it's true, but about 10 years ago, I think I actually picked up the phone, dialed the front desk, and asked them where I was.
Sir, you're in a hotel.
Yes, thank you very much. Have a good day.
Yeah, okay. Now that I know that, everything's fine.
Yeah. So on to other things. Have you guys, if any of you uses Twitter, which I know that at least 2 of you are not Power Twitter, 3 of you are not Power Twitter users, have you done a search on the hashtag Soki problems?
Yeah, I've seen some of the news coming out of there. Apparently, they're having troubles with their hotels, right? People are tweeting pictures and.
Yeah, there is that, and I mean all sorts of stories. And what's so strange is these quote unquote journalists, and I do intentionally put that in quotes, are so shocked. I mean, they're over there with their utopian environment and utopian form of government and utopian healthcare system, and they're shocked that they're not catered to in the hotels. Right. In fact, one guy went over to the festivities, came back, and they changed the locks on his hotel door.
It's a snore that millions of people died under the Soviet regime, but they're outraged when the toilet doesn't work.
And you know what seems to be infuriating so many people is that they are rounding up stray dogs, which are all over the place, and they're shooting them. And there are people posting. Oh yeah, people posting on Twitter. How can we adopt those poor dogs in Russia? And it was really hard not to write back. I tell you what, once you've adopted all of the strays in your own city, then head to Russia.
Yeah.
Right. Didn't one of our athletes get stuck in the bathroom? Did you read that report?
Yeah, and he punched a hole in the door.
Right.
You have to look at the picture of the description on what not to do in a public toilet. Somebody tweeted that. It was great. They showed pictures. Don't fish in the toilet. Some of the pictures you couldn't even tell what it meant. It was just hysterical.
Well, there's an awful lot of photoshopping going on, just so that you'll know.
Oh yeah, no, this is real. Because many people have sent the same picture. Different people have sent it from their own experiences, so it's been verified that and the ones that looked ridiculous turned out to actually have a logical explanation. But at first, it looked like, what does that particular symbol mean? But they actually had one symbol that said, "Don't shoot up drugs in the bathroom."
Hmm.
So, but the best one
some of the translations, and again, some of the translations are made up. I mean, this one they've got this menu item where they have put ice cream in your ass. And that is supposedly as a bad translation on the menu. That's supposedly a photoshopped menu.
The best Photoshop I saw was when they showed the opening ceremonies where the Olympic rings, all the snowflakes didn't expand properly. One of them stayed closed. Somebody photoshopped a picture of Hillary Clinton and put it into that one star that didn't open. Here's the reason why it didn't work. Pressing the reset button didn't quite work. I'm going to drop and try to get a hold of Time Warner now and see if I can't get in the queue here. This is my
good luck with that.
No,
yeah, I know.
You should.
Yeah.
I'll go out to the street and see if I can't run a really long cable from my neighbor.
Well, that's a good point. You could see if any of your neighbors have Wi-Fi that hasn't. But never mind.
Yeah, I've got to check, and I would expect. I saw one yesterday, but I didn't ask and see if they were having trouble in the evening. Last time we were having an issue a few months back.
By the way, before you drop, I was just curious. Have you heard anything about people bonding UVerse channels for better bandwidth at homes? The reason I ask is a guy I'm aware of was posting back in December that he'd lost internet for a day or so or whatever it was, that only one of his lines was back, but at least his speeds were decent. And on UVerse, he was getting 56 down and 5.6 up, which I've never heard of that on UVerse in this area. But he said, quote, only one of his lines was up, but at least he had decent speeds. I was actually talking with a guy yesterday who installs UVerse at some level. I don't know whether he goes into homes or whatever. And he said, oh, yeah, we're doing some bonding, but you don't seem to be hearing about it. I'm just wondering, if you bond 2 lines together, does that just double the bandwidth, or do you get more than double? You wouldn't want less than double.
Well, it's kind of like it's based on the same technology as ISDN bonding. And if you had a modem that supported channel bonding, you could get 128K from the data channel in ISDN as a single channel instead of 2 56s. So if it's the same technology, you can't exponentially get more. I haven't heard of anybody doing it. I believe as a base technology, you've got to have 2 twisted pairs coming into the house. So probably that's what they're doing if it requires 2 twisted pairs and doing some channel bonding in the modem.
Okay. All right, we'll catch you on the flip side.
Okay. All right, I'll check in again.
All right, Spence.
Thanks. All right, bye.
What speed is your internet, Merle?
Oh, I've got AT&T, so I get 5 down and 1 up, unfortunately. So
that's DSL, I'm assuming.
Yeah, yes.
Do you have any problem with it?
Actually, no. I mean, it's knock on wood. I've had it for about a year. I got rid of Time Warner because they were just driving me crazy. Especially the cable was what was driving me crazy with Time Warner. I mean, it would go out consistently. I mean, my internet would stay up. So when AT&T came in the area with UVerse, I immediately switched over. But so far, it does stay up. It's just, like we talked earlier, I can't do any really video streaming at high def because I've got 1 up. So, but right. I've had it a year and I don't think I've lost it yet.
I've got news for you. When you connected to me, you were in high def.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
What are you using for a webcam?
I'm a C920 okay. Logitech.
Yeah.
Yep. So I can't complain about my internet yet. I mean, it stays up and does what I need it to do for now. But it would be nice to get faster speeds.
Wah.
I know.
Yeah.
So did you all hear about that One Ring scam?
Oh, yeah. You might want to tell people about it because I believe it's real.
It must be, or the details are way too detailed to not be real. It's been dubbed the One Ring scam because victims' phone ring only once before the call is disconnected. If a victim tries to return the call, they are often charged a $19.95 international call fee plus $9 a minute for the duration of the call. Scam artists are counting on victims to be curious enough about a call from an unfamiliar number that they will call back right away. The calls typically originate from outside the United States. Victims report that these calls are mainly coming from Caribbean nations, including Grenada, Antigua, Jamaica, and British Virgin Islands. Area codes for these calls include 268, 274, 473, 809, and 876. I'm assuming the same will work if you do it from home. It's not just cell phones.
Oh, sure. Well, there may be a different rate structure for connecting over mobile like the UK has.
Yeah.
That may be less regulated than these standard wireline phones. I don't know that. I'm just guessing. I know that it costs a lot more for us to call cell phones from the United States to the UK than it does to call for a wireline phone in the UK. So we can pay for Steve's health care.
Yeah, I've actually received 2 phone calls to my cell phone in the last week.
I did too.
Yep.
From not what I tell you.
Mine came
hold on
from
to those exchanges, Am.
Okay,
I've got it in front of me.
Yep, one came from Grenada 473,
yep.
And the other one was Antigua 268. So
yeah. I got the same ones.
Interesting. So it is real.
268-762-0030.
Yep.
Antigua Barbuda. Barbuda. Oh, yeah, I called back on that one. I don't even answer them. Who is this? Are you calling from some third world country? I've gotten where I don't even answer my phone if I don't recognize the number at all. Of course, on this iPhone, half the time you hit the button, it doesn't do anything anyway.
John is saying, doesn't the carrier benefit and not that spammer scammer? I think they set up their own charges. It's sort of like the way that you do it with a 900 number. You tell the carrier, and every minute, you charge whatever you charge, but I want to get $10 for every minute. So the carrier charges $10 plus whatever their charge is for the usage. That's how it works. So the one who makes the money is the scammer.
Yeah, I don't know how all this stuff works, but the reality is that I doubt you would have much success getting that number, that charge reversed if you were to return that number. And I think the people who are particularly vulnerable are those, for example, who may have a sick loved one somewhere and waiting for an emergency call and not thinking clearly. They get the call and they dial it back.
Yeah.
Or like Andrew, if you're under the influence and don't realize where the call's coming from.
Morning, Andrew.
So, all right, got some other information that might be of use.
Okay.
And I got to find it here, so give me a second. Andrew, there is stuff good about the morning. Get over it. Quit whining. Speaking of viruses, I had a run-in this week with that awful virus called iTunes, the iTunes virus. And what happens is that there was an update recently to iTunes that when you restart your computer, it says unable to locate msvcr80.dll. And it is because of crappy software writing by Apple. Getting an Apple developer near a PC is the stupidest thing in the world. But the solution to the problem is pretty difficult. But what you have to do is you have to go into add remove programs. The first thing you do is delete iTunes, and then you delete everything else that's Apple related, including Apple application support, Apple software update, Apple mobile device support, Bonjour, and QuickTime. You have to delete everything that Apple has gotten close to. Now, once you've done that, you're going to have a problem in that whenever you try to uninstall Apple mobile device support, Windows will not let you uninstall it. Try as you may, you will not be able to uninstall it through add remove programs. The way you have to uninstall it is instead of clicking on the remove button, you have to click on change. When you click on change, one of the two options, well, let me back up. When you click on change, the first thing you have to do is click on repair. Then it'll go through the repair process. Then you go back to that same change and then do remove. When you get to remove, you'll get two errors that says it's unable to do this or that or the other. You have to hit ignore and hit ignore twice to get out of it to finish it up. Then you'll be able to remove the Apple mobile device support. Once you've removed all that, reboot your computer, and if you can't help it, then go ahead and reinstall iTunes and your problem goes away.
It's really nice to know that they've made it simple.
Yes, it'll only take an hour.
That's what people want in computing, isn't it? To make it nice and simple. Just click a few things that are almost self-explanatory, and there you are. There's the job and the task done for you. Thank you, computer technical people.
Gene is saying, has anyone received the Amazon your account has been blocked email phishing scam? They're coming all the time, and it's not just Amazon.
I probably got it and didn't notice it.
Yeah, you'll get something about your email being blocked, has been limited, and all kind of different. Yeah, you need to ignore them.
But that goes back to our recommendation that if you get that junk and someone says your American Express account, I hope you don't have American Express account, has been hacked, then don't click on the link. Go to AmericanExpress.com and log in.
Exactly.
And Brent says CryptoLocker virus is bad right now. And that's really interesting because we actually interviewed the guy on the air who wrote this utility to help prevent the CryptoLocker virus. And after he was on the air, I never heard any more about it. Never heard of anyone getting it. Didn't hear a thing.
Me neither. I mean, it's still running. I still
have
it installed.
Come on, Computers 2K now and say what it is you've got to say and scare everybody off.
Well, there you go. So...
You
heard of that,
to death.
Merle?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Did you install that utility to help protect against it?
I have not.
Let me find out what the name of that is again, because anyone who hasn't installed it should consider doing so if they don't have a Mac.
Trying to remember the name of it. CryptoBlock?
CryptoBlock or something like that. Well, may not even have it on this machine. I know I've got it on this one. Control panel programs. Let's see. Yep, Crypto Prevent.
Hey, that's it.
Crypto Prevent. And I don't know if he's updated it. The date on the file that we installed was November 13th, 2013. It's at foolishit.com. Let me see if we've got that.
Jeez, Brent is saying, according to news reports, people so far paid $30 million in ransom money for it. Wow.
Well,
it's quite an unfortunate web name, really, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Or is it intentionally an unfortunate web address?
foolishit.com.
Yes, when you type it in and then look at the address bar, it's rather an unfortunate address, a bit like Penn Island.
Yes. Well, I don't know. It might be a very popular email domain name.
It could well be. I mean, so the thing is, when you know it's called Foolish IT, but when you actually type it in and then look at it in the address thing, I shan't say it because,
Right.
Full of.
We would have to bleep you.
Yes. So, because, I'm considerate towards other people, but do it yourself and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes, you will. Where is the support?
He has a warped sense of humor.
Get notified, tech info, batch files, VBS.
Are you looking for the link to it?
I am.
I think it's on the home page at the bottom, if I remember correctly.
He's got a lot of stuff here. Crypto Prevent there are 3 columns on the home page, and it's over on the 3rd column at the very top.
Okay.
And that takes you to the page Crypto Prevent. Update February 6th. Crypto Prevent still protects against the latest strains of CryptoLocker. Also check out Crypto Prevent Premium with automatic updating.
That's $15.
Malware gets updates.
And it updates by itself.
What version did I say we had?
You said that I don't know what you're talking about.
4.2.4. He's up to 4.3, so it would be a good idea if you're using Crypto Prevent to download the latest one and install it. That is 4.2.4. He's had 3 releases since then. Let's see. For that, it says visit this tutorial for Portable EXE or this link for an installer version. So I'll click on that for an installer version, cryptoprevent.exe. Analysis date. Let's see here. Virus total. Nope, that's not the page. Looks like he's got a bad link, or I don't understand what I'm doing. Well, anyway, I'll figure it out, hopefully.
You just did.
No, I clicked on, I think he's got a wrong link here.
No, I think you just figured out. You don't know what you're doing.
Thank you very much.
You say you had that the guy that runs that website on the show, did you?
We did.
Darn
He's
it.
here in North Carolina, actually.
He's looking at the site itself just quickly in the last sort of 2-3 minutes that I have. Looks like he's a very interesting chap.
Well, he's a very interesting guy. Very smart, very, very much up on this stuff. And he sort of stumbled into it. I don't think he was out looking for it. He just happened to understand the problem and offered a solution for it.
Yep.
I see that he there's a link there to saying how he gave up smoking. And I clicked on it because I've reached my first anniversary of giving up even the vapor cigarettes.
Yay!
Congratulations.
So I did give up smoking 2 years ago, and I gave up nicotine in these sort of vaporizer, e-cigarette things a year ago. Well, last February, beginning of February.
Well, good for you.
So no nicotine, even though it is nice. And the e-cigarettes I would highly recommend to anyone that does smoke.
Yeah.
One massive step closer to giving up.
Listen to this story. That's interesting. Speeding is against the law. And yes, even going 5 miles per hour over the speed limit is breaking the law. But everyone does it, right? What about when you see a cop? Some cops are ticketing people for notifying fellow motorists about speed traps. In Florida, Ryan Kintner simply flashed his high beam to warn oncoming cars that there was a cop ahead. He was given a ticket for doing so. He went to court to fight the ticket, and a judge ruled that flashing lights are the equivalent of free speech. Thus, he had every right to flash his lights to warn oncoming cars. That is very interesting. Free speech. You are talking to the other drivers.
Well, speech is not just words.
The what?
It is unfortunate. So go on, Mike.
Go ahead, Steve.
Speech is not just words, is what Mike said. The unfortunate thing there is it's okay for that state, but the next state along may not look at it upon the same way, unfortunately. If we had a similar thing over here in the UK where they, people have flashed or they've even, stood there with a sign saying, a police speed trap ahead, like sort of quarter of a mile up the road. And the police have either done them for nonsensical, stupid reasons, but they'll stop a person they see flashing, and they'll check their car for their tires and their tread and make sure the bulbs and everything are all working. And if they're not, then they, they'll book them just for the sake that they can, because they stop them getting tickets. Because let's face it, at the end of the day, they don't want to stop speeding; they just want to build up revenue.
Sure. It's all about the money. All about the money.
I heard a joke somebody was saying the other day that on one speed camera alone over here they made £80,000 from just this one speed camera. And one of the comedians that were sort of discussing it on one of these Mock the Week program, it's called, he was saying, well, I'd be quite happy to stand there in a hedge in a yellow jacket taking photographs of people for £80,000 a year.
You have to just kind of jerk.
I'd do it for half that much.
Well, I'll take it.
We had red light cameras in Cary, right?
We did.
And they did away with them.
We did. You said we had them, and I said yes, we did.
Oh yeah, and the reason was that the entity that made the money was not the city; it was the company that they hired, contracted with to put those cameras up. They made the bulk of the money. I mean, really the bulk.
Like 90%, as I recall.
Yeah, so they did away with them.
Is it the same in America than it is over here, that nobody actually ever does anything in the local council and places like that now? It's all subcontracted out. So you think, well, hang on. We used to pay taxes so that it was done like, within the council or whatever it was. There was somebody employed to do that. Now nobody does any work. They just subcontract it out to somebody else. That's insane,
well, they're
isn't it?
busy. Their time is valuable, Steve. You don't understand.
Yeah, of course it is. They've got to go and sit in committee meetings and things like that, haven't they, to figure out.
I mean, this whole red light thing with the town was very interesting, quote unquote, because the town contracted with this vendor to provide the red light cameras. They contracted with this vendor to give them this 90% split of the money. They agreed to the company spending its resources to put up all these cameras to manage the system and to collect the money. And whenever it turned out to be a boondoggle, they blamed the vendor. And I think the elected officials of the town should be responsible for making the agreement with the vendor. The vendor was just out trying to make a living. I don't hold anything against the vendor. I don't have any responsibility or connection with the vendor. My responsibility is the responsibilities owed to me, laughably I say, by the elected officials of the place where I pay taxes.
Yeah, they're either passing the buck or shifting the goalpost.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Bamboozer's not doing very good for me at all. Dailymotion's horrible because you've got to sit through a 30-second ad every single time you refresh the page, and it's not keeping up very well, so I'm on Vaughan at the moment.
Why would you refresh the page?
What do you mean it's not keeping up?
Because it's horrible when you're watching somebody, on the video. And I know I don't mind a little bit of lip syncing being out, but when it's like 30 seconds late, it's kind of annoying because you're seeing someone laugh. You think, why are you laughing?
The thing is, at this point, you should not. Okay, there's going to be a 30 seconds delay between what you hear us talking right here live and what you see on the video. It would never be synced.
It never is synced, no, but it's generally when you first start, it's a few seconds out, and then it just gradually gets longer and longer and longer.
You should never leave the sound. Oh, but you're not listening to it. You're just watching it.
Yeah, because I'm hearing this coming through on Skype, which is early, so the voice is coming
that's
early.
What I was going to say, yeah.
And I'm sort of hearing somebody laughing. And I'm looking
sometimes it'll be even longer than 30 seconds.
But if you refresh periodically, then it sort of semi-catches up with itself.
John's talking about some health issues in chat, and I'm going to comment on what I'm saying. Now, Merle, are you leaving at 10?
Yeah, I got to go at 10.
All right. Well, if you got anything that you want to talk about before 10, you need to jump in and bring it up.
Oh, I got you. Okay, that's cool.
So, anyway, he's talking about health issues. He's got a pinched nerve in his neck. The doctors don't want to operate. And I will tell you that, obviously, chiropractors are controversial. And they are because there are good ones and there are bad ones. There are chiropractors who claim that they can cure cancer, and there are those who claim that they can provide relief. In my opinion, a chiropractor is an educated physical therapist. There are things they can do and things they can't do. They happen to work very well for me. I have an issue with my back that, in fact, I dealt with it over Christmas. I went for a solid month and actually 6 weeks dealing with a back issue because I didn't go to the chiropractor. I finally went over to see my chiropractor, and whom I've been dealing with for 20 years. He treated me, and I didn't think he had much success, but all of a sudden the problem goes away in a day or two. The haters will say that it was coincidental, but I'll take it. If going to the chiropractor triggers the coincidence, then I'll pay him for it. John, you can't really search for local good ones. You got to ask around. You got to ask people whom you trust if they go to someone, if they'd recommend them. The thing that I don't like about most chiropractors is they want to burn you up with x-rays. Every time you go, they want to take an x-ray. And it's not necessarily that they're doing it just for the money. They do make money with x-rays, particularly when they own their own x-ray machines, as most of them do. Unfortunately, some of them own older x-ray machines that when you leave the office, you're still glowing, and I don't go for that. So I have a deal with my chiropractor where we never do x-rays. At all. I've been x-rayed my whole life. X-rays are very dangerous. They are cumulative effect. They do modify your DNA, and there's at least one argument, and maybe Dr. John knows better, but there's one argument that a lot of x-rays can actually trigger leukemia. So now on a brighter note, since we want to bring Merle into this even more, Merle, tell us who you are and what you do, since this is your first time being in video on the show.
Oh, I got you. Well, my name is Merle Cox, and I am what they call a security specialist with one of a fairly large government entity. I won't say their name just to keep them out of this whole thing. But so that's kind of what I do. I'm a jack of all trades when it comes to security. I do physical, personnel, but my forte is information system security. So, when it comes to technology, I look at everything from a security perspective. So that's kind of a quick, runabout of who I am and what I do for a living. And I got to know you guys because I started getting into the podcast community. So I think that's how I met. First, I think I met Mike, I believe.
Yeah. So what do you, I mean, without telling too much, what do you do day in and day out when you say I'm in security? When you sit down the first thing in the morning to do what it is you do, what does that involve? Is it computers? Is it what? I mean, to the extent that you can talk about it.
Yeah, it's a plethora of things, really. Like I said, my job title is security specialist, so I'm a jack of all trades. But my bread and butter is information system security. So it really depends on the day when I come in. Like I said, my biggest job has to do with computer security. So I don't know if anybody's ever really dealt with the government and computer security, but it's a beast all into itself. So I mean, I'm responsible for ensuring our computer systems are patched and making sure the admins are doing the right thing, making sure we go through audits. One of my big responsibilities is to actually check audit logs, which is a daunting task that's almost impossible to do, especially now with Windows 7. I don't know if you've looked at the security log, but it is just enormous because it's got all kinds of stuff going on in there. So
is that good or bad?
Well, it is good if you know what you're doing. I don't know if you guys have heard of things like audit reduction tools, which is when you're running an enterprise system as large as some of the systems that we have, it's vital to have that because you can definitely lose something in all the what we call the noise because the way we audit. I mean, we look at each at everything almost. So I mean, as people are looking at different files and folders on their computers, that gets audited, and whether they have permission, if they don't have permission. If you have permission, that gets audited. If you don't, that gets audited. So that takes up a lot of my time is auditing computer systems. And then, the big thing that I do really, what we've learned over the years is educating our users because from a security perspective, I mean, you can install the latest patches. You can make sure, you've got all the unnecessary ports, protocols, and services not running on servers. But when you get that person with 10 fingers behind the keyboard, and I was just looking at an article the other day where they talked about the world's worst, or not the world, but the worst passwords of 2013. It's amazing how that password list that people are using, which is bad, hasn't changed much over 10 years. People are still using password. People are now, corporations and companies to access their websites. They've turned on strong passwords where you have to have 8 characters. Well, people are using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that trend hasn't changed over the years. So we do focus a lot on user training. So it depends on what my day is kind of crazy. I never know what I'm going to get into when I sit down at my desk. There's something new all the time.
Well, can we get you to help out with healthcare.gov?
Unfortunately, that has been left up to a contractor. So just like, the government, it tends to go to either who you know or the lowest bidder. So,
Well, the lowest bidder, they spent $630 million. So was that the lowest bid?
From what I've read in the news, there may have been somebody who knew somebody.
You think?
Yeah, that runs that company that got that bid.
There
So
may
By
have
the
been
way, your
some
audio is a
taking
little
out of lunches,
distorted.
perhaps.
What'd you say,
check
Mike?
your Merle's audio is a little distorted. He needs to check it, see if it's a mixer setting, and watch on your end 2 Amnon.
all right, I'll turn it down a little bit. And what actually?
Yeah.
How's this? Is this any better?
Well, so far we'll watch it and see.
Okay.
But it's not bad. But it's just I know you like to know those things. So
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
John
John was saying. John was saying when Mike was asking you about what do you do day in day out, I said prevent Snowdens.
That's an interesting topic because, unfortunately, we're in a very reactionary mode right now with him.
Right.
And the things that we do, and I complain daily that some of the rules and regulations that we institute, we got to be real careful because when we don't want security to get in the way of people doing their job, and with him, my personal opinion, we got very reactionary in some of the things that we've instituted. Let's face it, there's no such thing as a secure computer unless it's in a box, not hooked to the internet, locked in a room somewhere. So,
Unpowered.
Not powered. Like people, that's always going to be a big issue in security. And I was really kind of disappointed that it seemed like the government, not the government entity, but the contractor entity who does background investigations took the brunt of that. And there is really no magic solution to look at somebody. They look at your character if you're in debt or if you're not in debt, because if you're in debt, of course, you can be persuaded to sell secrets or perform espionage. They look at, drugs. They look at a plethora of things, and, they took the brunt of that because they're like, well, how could this happen? We've got this contractor and they didn't do their job. Well, they did their job. It's just that people are people, and he had an agenda. So unfortunately,
what was his agenda? What's in it for him? He's obviously an international hero / villain. Did he want the fame, or is he generally concerned about the welfare of this country?
I believe, based on what I have read, he took the jobs that he held in order to get inside and to make come to fruition, to show people some of what he thought, some of the things that wasn't on the up and up. So his agenda wasn't money, from what I've read. He truly wanted to expose what he felt was atrocities that the government was doing. So
I don't know if I would call it atrocities.
Yeah, well, he was very. He feels. I don't know if you've seen any of his interviews, but he definitely feels that the NSA has overstepped their bound. And what's interesting is I just looked at a statistic the other day on the internet, and it seems like 45% of the people polled have him as being. I guess they hold him in high regards.
Yeah,
he's a patriot
until something happens to them.
Right. It's a fine line. Somebody asked me the other day because of what I do. They said, "What do you think?" And first and foremost, you got all these politicians in the news media who are, calling for his head. And I'm like, look, you're proven until innocent in a court of law, but we have ways that it's fraud, waste, and abuse. If we believe there's fraud, waste, and abuse going on in the government, we do have mechanisms to address those things. So people have asked me over and over, do you think he's a criminal? Yes, he broke the law. If he truly found something that he thought was fraud, waste, or abuse, there are procedures and policies in place to handle that. Now, I've never used it, don't know anybody who has used it, don't know if it works, but that's the law. So he did break the law, and he is a fugitive, from the law right now.
Right.
The thing is, because of what was going on, I believe that had he have gone to the appropriate authorities, they would have just lied and cheated and sneaked, as they have done, to try and denounce everything that he's brought forward when he's actually brought forward proof. So what does that tell you what would happen had he have gone to them?
He could have tried. Maybe he did. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, you never know. We don't know the whole story,
Right.
Unfortunately. So, it is what it is, but it's really interesting that, almost, a large percentage of people out there see him as a patriot. And so it's going to be interesting to see, what falls out from all this. We're going to be experiencing issues for 5 or 6 years. Like I said, doing knee jerk reactions to stuff. So I don't know.
It does appear that he hasn't done it for any gain of any sort, whether it's financial or any other gain. So, which is a good thing, I suppose.
Well, yeah. I mean, look. I mean, he's stuck in Russia, and based on what we've seen on Twitter, apparently it's not the best place to be, especially if you're staying in a hotel. So,
and always have to look.
Well, I have a buddy
Behind you.
actually who's in the media who is at the Olympics in Russia. She was posting on Facebook periodically that the media are greatly exaggerating the problems that they're having in Russia. Now, I haven't seen one of her posts lately, so they might have shut her down, or maybe she's gone to Serbia or something, but it'll be interesting when she gets back to hear her assessment of what's going on over there. But I mean, she's one of the crowd that look at the Russian political system as utopia. So I think they're shocked at what they're running into. But with regard to Snowden, Thoreau said that under a government that imprisons any unjustly, the true place for a just man is prison. So the question then becomes, and I really don't have an opinion on Snowden as much as I probably should have, but the reality is that if he feels strongly that what he has experienced is unjust and he figures the just thing is to do it, then he is actually free to do what he chooses so long as he's willing to pay the price. If he stayed in this country, the price would be prison or execution for treason, or if the price is to have to run away from the country and go to a place where he is immune from capture, theoretically, although I'm not so sure he shouldn't be looking over his shoulder.
Yeah, if I was him, I definitely would not be going out into the streets unless I was, covering my identity.
He could go hide wherever Osama bin Laden was hiding. It took us 10 years to find him, unless it was NBC. They found him.
Well, so they told us, yeah.
Mm-hmm. They interviewed him, didn't they?
Okay, Mike, yeah. I'll go with you on that one.
I don't know. That's what I recall.
Okay. He certainly ruffled a few feathers and has changed a few things. So is that a bad thing in all aspects? I don't think it's a bad thing in all aspects, no.
No, it is always, I think it's good to have discussions and debates, and this definitely has done that, especially in my circles that I run in. That, I mean, it's 2 or 3 times a week. It comes up in a meeting, or I'm walking down the hall and somebody says, "Hey," and we start talking and his name comes up. So, it's definitely, I think it's good that we can have these discussions, and like I said, time will tell. 50 years from now, we'll probably figure, was he a patriot or was he a criminal? And it's time will definitely tell.
Time will tell.
Can he be both?
And that's true. I mean, if you look, our founding forefathers, I guess you could say they were terrorists, right?
Well, they started a war.
That's right. So,
the War of Northern Aggression.
It's created debate and made people look at things more closely rather than having everything secret behind closed doors, which has to be a good thing for democracy and for people's welfare, I suppose, at the end of the day. You can have too many secrets.
Right.
Dan says he thinks the guy is completely safe in Russia. I'm not sure I agree with you, Dan.
I don't think he'll ever be able to stop looking behind his back.
Andrew's having a problem with his car. He's having a flashing check engine light, in which case I think you go to your nearest auto parts store and get them to put the code reader on there and at least tell you what's causing the light to flash.
Right.
Or take the bulb out for the check engine light.
Well, that'll do it. Or not.
Yeah, don't do that one, Andrew.
No, but Andrew, you can drive it. I mean, I hope you know that this it means something with the emission.
Usually when it comes on and stays on is the time when you need to stop if it's blinking. That's not absolutely serious.
Even if
Well,
it's-
that's a good question, though. One is serious and one is not. I thought blinking was serious.
I've never seen one blinking.
Well, I'll tell you what John told us about my wife's car, because for a while she kept having her check engine light come on.
Yeah.
He told her, he said, that if the light comes on, don't worry about it. If it blinks, worry about it.
Really?
Yeah. All right, Merle.
All right, guys. Take care. Thanks for letting me on. I wish
thank you.
I could
was
have
fun.
given you more information, but keep up the good work, and I'll see you guys around.
All right,
Sounds
man.
good. We'll see you again.
Take
Thanks
care.
for coming on, Merrill. Yeah, he'd have to kill us if he told us any more, and we wouldn't want that, would we?
Yeah, that's pretty hard to do over Skype, so...
Yeah. But then
You know
he's
what?
working
We
for security
did
things,
not.
so maybe they've developed it, but he just didn't let us know that he's got that facility.
Yeah, and also we need to give out Merle's website, because he does have his own podcast, and it is, I'm putting it in chat, mcprodnet.com. MC as in Merle Cox, PROD as in productions, NET as in network, so it's mcprodnet.com. That's Merle's site, and check him out.
Hey, Andrew.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh my God, I was up till 2 o'clock in the morning yesterday working on the car.
What did you do to work on it?
What did you do?
So this started happening last Tuesday. This is my Subaru. It's a 2001 Subaru Impreza. So on Tuesday, my father was driving it, and he said that the car was barely running. It was sputtering. There was no power to it. It was barely going, and it was violently shaking. And he had the check engine light flashing, and that's always bad. So he got it to the house, and the following morning, I have something called a piggyback on the computer on the car, and it's for performance. So I said, okay, maybe it's something to do with the wiring on the piggyback. Maybe the piggyback went bad. Let me swap it out, put the bypass on. And it seemed to have fixed it. It was fine. I said, okay, well, that's what it is. The chip went bad, and now I'm bypassing it, so it should be good. Yesterday, he was driving it, and he said it was doing the same exact thing. The wiring is fine. It's soldered. All the points are soldered to the harness of the computer. So, Mike, could the solders go bad?
They could, but the way I checked that when I had a similar problem is while the car is running, you move the harness around. If you've got a bad solder joint, it'll come and go.
Yeah, that's what I did. So I pushed on all the wires. So I opened up all the wraps, and I could see
you didn't even need to do that if it's intermittent and you move it. We had a 75 Jeep Cherokee that, I mean, this thing, the dealer worked on it 20 times, and we never did get it fixed. And then one day we were playing around, and somebody reached up and touched the wiring harness, and the engine shut down. It turned out that it had a bad connector in the sending unit of the, I don't know where it is, in the distributor area.
Yeah.
And this connector had gotten flaky, so we cut the connector off, spliced the wires together, soldered them, taped them up, and then that part never presented a problem again.
Yeah, so I opened up the harness so I could see the wires, and I started pushing on the wires, and it doesn't seem to be doing that. There was one that was a little bad when I opened it up. It wasn't fully connected. It was a little loose, so I took that and I spliced it and I rewired that one. But I have no idea what it could be. I changed the spark plugs. I changed the ignition cable for the spark. Now I saw my father go buy a coil pack so I could change the coil pack, because that could be it too. That could be causing it. If that's not it, then I'm just going to start redoing all that wiring. Maybe something funky happened. Or it could be a bad ground. The other thing I'm thinking is that it's a bad ground.
I'd still get somebody to read the code, because I don't know anything about cars except what I've had to deal with. And what I will...
Could be a faulty spark plug.
And I read the codes yesterday.
And
I got one. Some of the codes I know what they are, and I'll always get it. But there was nothing that. The only code that I got was 2 misfires on 2 of the cylinders. That's it.
And again, when we had that problem, which is the most recent problem we had with my wife's car, it was a bad coil pack.
Yeah, I mean it's possible. I'm hoping it's a coil pack, but I just changed a coil pack a year ago.
I don't even. Well, she changed. Let me tell you what happened to her. She was driving my daughter's bridesmaid luncheon. No, it was not. It was my daughter. They were having a whatever it was, some event prior to the wedding, several weeks prior to the event, a bridesmaid, whatever it was. But anyway, it was in Charlotte. And so my wife had to go through Winston-Salem. She left here, went to Winston-Salem first in the morning, plenty of time to get to Charlotte for the event. When she got to Winston-Salem, the car started running really, really rough, had no power. It was limping along. We spent about a half an hour figuring out whether it was going to destroy the car to drive it. It was a Sunday. She was able to get it over to a mechanic that was open on Sunday. They went into the car, diagnosed it as a bad coil pack.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. I don't know anything about cars. So they put a new one on it. The car ran great. She drove it to Charlotte. Everything was fine. She drove it home. Missed most of the event, but then she drove it home on the back roads, coming back from Charlotte to Raleigh. All that was fine. She got up the next morning, driving to work, got in front of her mechanic, and it started doing it again. She then drove it into the mechanic. He diagnosed it. That same coil pack went bad. He took that off, put in, which was a Bosch. He took that off, put in a one from the dealership, and knock on wood, it has not given another problem.
Yeah, Bosch makes some good stuff, but some cars don't like Bosch. And I was also reading last night, so I was up till like 4 in the morning because I was working on the car till 2. And I was just reading about the coil pack because that's what I thought it would be too. There's only 3 things. If you have this kind of problem, you're having a misfire, there's 3 obvious things that it could be. The spark plug, the spark plug cables, or the coil pack.
Or the computer.
If it's a misfire.
You can kind of tell if it's a misfire. When it's running rough like that, I'm not running on all cylinders, so I'm assuming it's the coil pack. The other issue is, and a lot of people don't know this, if you have bad electrical work in the car, a bad ground, or even if you have an aftermarket radio put in, and these guys really did a sloppy job and a wire's loose, that could cause the coil pack to go bad. And it could cause this same exact problem to happen. So my Hail Mary is going to be, I'm going to take the head unit out and start rewiring stuff and pushing stuff down to see if that helps.
Well, if that gets old, just yank all the wiring out and just put all new wiring in.
Don't think I won't.
Yeah, just go under the hood and yank all the wires out that you see. Go under the dash, yank all of them out. If they don't come out, just cut them off. And then see if it's still doing it. I'll bet you at that point it will not do it.
Yeah, you won't hear any misfire.
I'll tell you something, Mike. I've had the same exact problem happening years ago, and it was just a really crappy wiring job on the stereo that someone did.
Well, yeah, I mean,
it's a process of elimination, but a bad ground could cause all sorts of problems like you're experiencing.
Yeah.
Well, there's no difference between a bad ground and a bad hot wire. It's a circuit, and where the break is irrelevant.
That could make the coil pack go bad. That might be why your wife's coil pack went bad.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? They do wear out and go bad. I mean, it's a wear and tear item to some extent. And they fail, or if the parts don't regularly fail, they're not going to be in stock at the local parts house, right?
Yeah. Well, what's thrown me off is that I fixed this last week when I took the chip out and I put the bypass on there. The piggyback on the computer of the car. So that fixed it. I wonder if that fixed it because it just sat there overnight and it just happened to fix itself. And it was just a total coincidence that I took it out and put that in.
Well, I think it's a coincidence.
Have you tried removing that bit that you put in?
I did, but if I remove it, then it's going to totally malfunction because then the computer's not going to get any power.
Okay.
So I put the bypass in. I put the old one back in, the actual chip and not the bypass, and it did the same thing.
Okay. Well, so you've eliminated that then, haven't you?
Yeah, so I'm guessing because the car sat overnight, it just fixed itself somehow.
Could be. Perhaps you just wanted a little break.
Maybe, but this morning it doesn't want to break, so...
No, it's because you didn't share the booze last night, that's why.
I did, actually. I actually got so angry, I took a beer can and I threw it at the engine. I'm not even lying.
Did that fix it?
No! I mean...
But it felt good.
It did feel really good. All right, I won't bore you guys anymore.
No, it's fine. Morning, Nick.
Morning, Nick.
Good morning.
Hello.
You almost look awake, Nick. What's going on?
I'm not sure. I don't know what's going on.
Turn your
Audio's
mic up.
low.
Your mic's very low. Not mic, but your
Oh, no, I'm just
microphone.
not talking.
Oh.
I'm just not talking loud. Sorry.
Oh, well, sort
Nick,
it out.
is the red poster behind you shiny? Is
Yes.
it like filmy?
Yeah, all posters are filmy.
Yeah, I think you need to go and get some matte, clear spray paint and
Yeah, it's kind of glary.
yeah.
Yeah, I was actually going to
Glare.
say that,
Yeah.
Nick. Same exact
The
thing you
best
said.
to never
That
nest,
helps.
is it?
It will you don't notice it when I have the other light on. It kind of diffuses it.
Oh,
You know, what's reflecting on it is his monitor because something
Yeah.
changed on his screen, and you could see the
oh yeah,
the
it
image
is.
change.
It's the monitor. Yeah.
Yeah, watch if I do this.
Yep,
Yep.
there you go.
Done. I have a blank white web page open, so that's
Also, the poster on your right, our left, is also reflecting back a little bit now.
yeah. If I turn the other lights on, it's not as bad.
Oh, there it is.
Yep,
When
I
it's
have a-
when it's white. Yeah.
No, this is literally just it's a blank HTML page, so it's
Okay.
nothing but.
All right. I was just wondering.
It's not a serious reflection. If it was really sort of glaring, then we'd all be screaming at you.
This is why I don't do things, because I do them and then I have to put way more work into it to fix the issue.
Man.
Now I'm gonna have
So you got a
to.
car, Nick.
Brent is
What?
saying he bought an Xbox One last night for his son.
Who did?
Brent.
Oh,
Hey, guys, I'm going to run.
Cool.
I just wanted to call and just complain.
All right, Andrew.
All right.
Thanks
send
for
you a
calling
bill.
in from bitching, Andrew.
You're welcome.
Good luck on getting your car sorted.
Yeah, I'll let you guys know if I fix it.
All right.
Hey Dan, that poster is talking about Nick. It says the best never rest.
It's a movie poster.
No, it's Nick.
It's a movie poster. Please don't confuse them anymore.
So I want to talk a little bit about with Nick about what happened this morning. So Nick, tell me again why is the Wirecast machine putting out not a clear picture?
Because you are broadcasting at 360p. Is that right? 480. Which one are you doing?
480.
So you're doing 480. Monitors don't, or graphics cards don't output that low of a resolution. So So I'm outputting a 16:9 video, and then inside of Wirecast. So what it looks like is you're outputting this big 16:9 video, and there's all these black bars around it, and then you have the video in the middle of that. So then inside of Wirecast, I'm just cropping all of the black bars and then making it be full
Okay.
screen on the Wirecast machine.
So it's not the widescreen or 4:3, 16:9 or 4:3. It's the actual resolution.
Yeah, it's the resolution that you're streaming at is so low that not so low, but it's low enough that the monitor will never, or a monitor will not output 480p.
Okay.
It's just it just doesn't do it. I mean, it might do it with some type of modification, but it doesn't do it by default.
But if I don't care about the monitor, we care about what it's sending into.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because
Okay.
technically it's a monitor output.
Yeah.
Yeah, for all intents and purposes.
Well, you realize what happened with? Did you see that Bamboozer is not working?
Oh no, I didn't see that.
Yeah. When we started this morning, we found out the Bamboozer is not connecting to Bamboozer, so switched to go to Daily Motion and told people to.
Yeah. I think it looks fine. I didn't really even notice.
Well, it's you and Andrew brought it up that when it's on Bamboozer, it's real crisp down there.
Oh well, of course.
Yeah.
And it should be.
Yeah. No. I mean, I was just wondering if there was. And the other thing that I actually like, in a way, I like what's going on because instead of running at 80 and 90% CPU at this point, because FMLE is not running, it's running at 40 and 50. So that's very interesting. So I was saying, oh boy, I wish I could get the quality out there and not use FMLE anymore. The downside is I'm recording now with the Ninja because FMLE will not, or I couldn't figure out a way to make it just record and not.
Why didn't you just record inside of VidBlaster?
Oh, forget that. That will kill the CPU.
Oh. Now you have a reason to get rid of VidBlaster.
Yeah, well, there's still a lot going against Wirecast as far as what we do.
Do it.
The Skype thing. I'm going to have to come up with a way to do one per, like a machine per Skype.
Well, that's going to be an extreme overhaul.
Well,
you're going to have to buy a brand new computer and capture cards to do that. You'd have to drop a few $1,000s for that to work properly, I would assume.
It's just money.
Yeah, Mike pays for it anyway.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yes. Mike, I need a new Skype machine as well.
All right, order it.
John is saying I paid for it, so definitely going to keep it. No. The main problem with Wirecast, or the problem with Wirecast, really there's not that many problems, is one, I still don't know how to use it to switch with.
Yeah, that's a Wirecast problem, all right.
Yeah,
of course
that's,
you do.
That's between it's been between the chair and the keyboard.
Exactly.
But the other thing is that and you saw what happened when Merle dropped out, and then when Nick came in, it takes about 15 seconds to recapture everybody and put them back in. With Wirecast, it's a much longer.
Well, it was, but that's changed. That's not
really
like it used to. Yeah, we talked about this.
No, we haven't talked about this.
Yes, we did. Right before Wirecast 5 came out, we talked about that. How the time is much less because now you can do desktop captures.
You can do multiples?
Yeah. Or you could essentially do multiples.
All right. Well, we need to talk about. I don't remember that because that's the main thing that's holding me back from using Wirecast. That there's nothing. Really, I can't see anything else.
Well, you just have to use it.
Dr. John says he's emailing Bitcoins now. Unfortunately, they just banned them in Russia.
Yeah. So don't. I mean, isn't that nice? You can email money.
Well, it's what you do with PayPal.
Yeah. You guys trust PayPal with your money?
Yeah.
You do?
You have to. You have to.
My
Not anymore,
my father's really hesitant of me keeping the money I do on PayPal.
I would
Take
never
it
keep any reasonable amount
I take
on
it out,
PayPal.
but it's a pain in the ass to take it out, and then when I need to buy something on eBay or if I need to buy something online, then I've got to create an account and use a credit card, or not a credit card, a debit card.
No, then you can always leave some money there.
Well, yeah, well, that's what I do. I leave some money there, but he thinks it's too much.
But you don't need to leave $1,000. I mean, think about what you're buying. And if you're ever going to make a big purchase, then you move money there.
I think I'll just follow whatever Andrew said.
PayPal's a bit like a woman.
Back it up to get it back.
You can't live with them, can't live without them. It's a necessity. But yeah, don't leave a lot of money in there.
Yeah.
I mean, I have
If
a
they
friend
freeze
who
your
runs
account,
over.
that's it. You've got, whatever it is in there frozen. Happened to me.
I have a friend who
Horrible.
runs over $100,000 a year through PayPal.
Yeah. No, I mean, I keep a few $100s in there, but I just it's such a pain to transfer money out, and then if I needed to buy something larger with PayPal, it takes like 3 to 5 business days to transfer it back in, and then there's fees to
But
do
you
that.
can use a credit card.
Well, I don't have
If
a
you-
credit card.
Link it to a debit card and keep it in your
Bank.
checking account.
Yeah.
And then that
Yeah,
way, if you
it's not a bad
haven't
idea.
got it in your PayPal account, it takes it out. That's what I did once I got burnt by PayPal. I won't keep any more than, £50 to £100 in there now. Well, if I'd be lucky to have 50 pence in there now, let alone 50 to 100.
Yeah, I mean, they take. See, mine's linked to a business account, so when I want to transfer it out, I just say transfer it to my business account, and it takes 3 days. People say I'm hesitant about dealing with PayPal. Well, heck, you're not any safer with Wells Fargo.
Well, that's the
Yeah.
point. Is they're both banks. One is just online, and one you can actually drive down and withdraw money, right?
Yeah, PayPal
Well,
didn't get bailed
not-
out, but
not
all
quite.
the banks did.
What, Steve?
I say PayPal didn't get bailed out, but I think all the banks did, didn't they?
A lot of them did. Most of them did. But the problem is that the banks are protected by the federal government. PayPal is not. PayPal is totally
Yeah.
private.
Yeah.
That is its biggest problem, I think, is when you look at the amount of people that are complaining or bitching about it, it's generally because they're all unto themselves, isn't it?
Well, my friend who runs so much money through PayPal actually has 2 accounts for 2 businesses. When he set up and he only does it so that he can take credit cards, most of his payments through PayPal are people who use a credit card to purchase his services. That being said, he set up a second account. They put a 90-day hold on all of his money. He could not take money out until it had been in that account for 90 days, and that stayed in effect for a couple of years. They eventually took it off, but even though he had his other account that was in perfect standing, and he would typically have anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 in the account at any time, they would not even discuss it with him. Nope, those are our rules. We want to know who you are, and we want to make sure that we don't get stuck.
Yeah.
Exactly the same with me. They froze my account. We couldn't have any money in or out. It was insane. And it was
They
just
won't even
on a
talk
whim,
to you.
you know.
So
Yeah, I mean, I'm not doing that large of transactions, so I mean, if they froze my PayPal account, it would just be a few $100s.
well, but that's not the point. It's your money.
True.
I don't care if it's $2.
I've had some issues with some of their policies, and I've called their support, and they've been pretty helpful.
Yeah. Well,
It needs to
I'm
have
very
another
lucky.
competitor, doesn't it? Google
Well,
Wallet
they
was
have other
looking
competitors.
like it was going to be promising.
They do
Google's
have
a
competitors.
huge competitor.
yeah. Well, speaking of which, I just got my Google, what is this thing, card?
Wallet.
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you can't use
Google
it if you're
Wallet's
not
their
if
payment
you're
thing, yeah.
if you're under 18. It's useless. So
But technically, Nick, that's true on all of them. You may be getting
what is
around.
true on all of them?
I mean, the reason why is it has nothing to do with the service. The fact is that in the United States, you're not legally able to contract until you're 18.
Yeah.
That's not Google's fault. It's not PayPal's fault. That's the law. See, here's my Google Wallet card. I haven't even
But you've got this-
activated it.
I just stole all your money.
Well, I don't know how you did it because there are no numbers or anything on it.
I don't know.
But that's why it doesn't have any money in it.
I scanned it.
There, you scan it all you want to. There's nothing on it.
Yes, there is.
These
Show me.
Square things that have been out for a while now, they allow you to take a credit card or debit card payment, don't they?
Yeah.
I have a Square. Yeah.
Well, then, can you not use
Uh,
that as a... is it
Yeah,
only
you
for
see-
taking payments, not for making them?
They've had problems too. In fact, Square, I don't remember what the controversy was, but there were. And I'm a member of a listserv that has 4,000 lawyers on it, mostly independent, small firm lawyers. They were major advocates of Square. Then all of a sudden, one guy goes in there and says, "You guys better beware. Here's a problem I just had." And then shortly thereafter, like dominoes, 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6 others came and said, "Yep, same problem." I don't remember what it was, but it was something, as I sort of recall, something on the order of they are freezing my money and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So I don't know.
See, that really is strange, that Nick cannot have a credit card, but he can have a Square.
Well, the Square's the reader. I'm not actually. There's no money tied there. I mean, there is, but it's not.
Can you use it?
What do you mean? Can I use it?
Can you take money from somebody?
Yeah, and I have.
And it goes where?
Into my bank account.
Right. So you are what is called in the business a merchant. You have a merchant account.
Yeah, and that you can be a merchant under the age of 18.
No, you can't, because
Not
that's
really.
even worse.
I don't know what I have
as
then,
far
but
as more rigid than having a credit card. I remember, for credit card, it's nothing. But when I wanted to start accepting credit cards, I had to go through a lot to fill all kind of papers and prove this and prove that you have this.
You don't have to do that anymore. With Square, you just sign up for the website.
Amnon, you're talking about with your bank.
Yeah.
All right. These other services, including PayPal, are third-party vendors that have acted as a buffer between the banks or the processing services, and you don't have to go through that anal exam to use these other services, but you also pay more for the privilege of using it. These companies, it's kind of like the bank that makes a loan to high-risk borrowers. They pay a higher interest rate because they have to subsidize the other high-risk loans. It becomes a lottery on the bank's part to find out if they're going to get paid. These third-party processors do that same sort of thing. They mark it up. They buy the services. They're reselling Authorized.net and those sorts of services.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, it's not. I'm not directly putting. It's not directly going just to my bank. It's sitting in whatever their system is
for a while until it goes there. Yeah.
Yep. It's like a few days after the transaction, it goes to the bank. But I've only used it once, so.
So I know last week we mentioned about the fact that Amazon may raise the price of Prime.
Yep.
I wonder if that means that you can go today and renew for 2 or 3 or 4 years at $79.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, I would imagine you probably could. Amazon doesn't seem like a company that would try to then.
They normally have a limit on the amount of, or maximum number of whatever cycles you can have, isn't it?
Well, as long as they charge you one time, as long as they charge you, like, what would it be, like $200, $300 at one time? If they just say, all right, we'll charge you $79 every year, then no. But if you pay one lump sum of whatever that would be, then I would think so.
Are you saying that you can only have so many... and here you guys go and see what I mean.
He has internet.
Yay.
That you can only have so many transactions under
Under Prime?
Prime?
Seriously?
Is that what Steve just said?
No, I said maybe you're only allowed to have 1 year at a time or possibly 2 years at a time. You may not be able to buy 4, 5, 6 years, whatever.
I don't recall an option that would allow you to do that. And then again, I haven't looked at it lately. But you know what? If they want to price that out of the market, let them go ahead. They've already started charging sales tax in North Carolina. They're not the deal that they were before they were charging sales tax. I mean, it's
Mike, Mike, let me give you an example, right? You were saying how the sales tax thing was a big deal for you, and it would choose you to, maybe not pick Amazon as your first option anymore.
Well, that's not exactly what I said, but go ahead.
I needed an 8 gig of complete SD. I needed an 8 gig SD card for a project I was working on. So I went out to the store. I went out to Target and bought it. It was $15. I got home. There's $6 on Amazon.
Right.
So they could have charged me whatever percentage sales tax, and it still would have been cheaper than.
Agreed, and that was my comment. That if they're still cheaper with sales tax, then I'll buy it from Amazon. I don't object to people complying with the law. If the law is now such that they have to charge sales tax, and they're going through a big change at Amazon because they're getting kicked by a lot of state governments. It's not their fault if the law makes them collect and pay sales tax. That's not the issue. My issue with Amazon is the way they're handling it. They canceled affiliate accounts in North Carolina, and the morons can't even decide how this new sales tax thing impacts affiliate accounts. They're not even talking about it right now. But all I was saying is that if I'm going to buy, I spend thousands of dollars a year with Amazon. And all I'm saying is that when I'm out shopping, because some of these items, if you take a $100 item, that's $7 for sales tax. And if a Newegg or one of the others has it for the same price without the sales tax, why should I buy it from Amazon? I'm not saying I would not buy it from them for any particular reason or motivation. I'm just saying that if they're more expensive, why would I buy it from Amazon? I don't owe Amazon anything. I'm a customer. They owe me.
My daughter just renewed for $79 for 1 year without any issue.
But see, you can at 79. Probably one of the reasons that they're looking. Is it a foregone conclusion that they're going to raise the rate?
No, it was just a rumor.
A rumor. So let's assume they do. I'm not saying that I would be done with Prime because I can share it with family members. And I do. You can share it with 4 family members. If you divide it up that way, then it's probably reasonable. That's probably the motivation for considering raising the price. If you have 5 people on your account and they go to $99, that's $20 per account. Now, granted, only the primary account user has the ability to stream the videos, but everyone else gets the same benefit. The other benefit they have is that if you are a student, Prime is free.
It's free, but it's just the shipping is free, no video.
Well, yeah. I don't watch the video anyway.
Oh, yeah. See, I use it a lot, so.
So it did work, Spence.
Well,
did you twist his arm?
What I did was I just went in and I did some detective work. I played around with it. I tried connecting directly to the cable modem because the cable modem appeared to be up.
So it wasn't Time Warner. It was your problem in the house?
No, it's Time Warner. Or it's their DNS is down. Or the Earthlink DNS, I should say, is down.
Oh, of course. That's
I reconfigured the router. First I played around with changing the settings in a router. Then I put in another. The DNS I knew at the time that I had written down was OpenDNS. So I reconfigured the router with that, and it worked. And then I found, once I got it working, I went in and found some other alternate DNSs.
A lot of people use the Google one. I think it's 8.8.8.8 or something like that.
Yep, and the backup's 8.8.10.10, I think.
And they also have 8.8.4.4.
8.8.4.4, yes, Mike. That's the same as when I
got the OpenDNS configured now. They've got several versions of it.
I thought you already went to Roadrunner.
No, not yet.
Well, Earthlink is Roadrunner.
Well, yeah, but he's limited. He can't have.
All right.
It's not. Speed. This hasn't been the only issue because several times I've come in here when there was an outage and the cable modem was down. It was just sitting there.
That Time Warner has been having some DNS issues lately because I typically use their DNS, and on my i7 computer, which is SSD fast. When you click on something, if it doesn't bring up the website, it's not the computer. And it's been taking longer to load websites. And you look down at the bottom, and it says in the corner it says something like resolving or something like that. So,
are you surprised?
Well, actually, all sarcasm aside, actually I am surprised because I'm not much of a network guy and I don't really understand this stuff like some of you guys do. But I don't believe a DNS server is that hard to operate and get right.
Oh. No, well, your internet shouldn't be going out every 10 minutes either, but that always happens.
That's
as
a different
well.
question. Well, I was talking about
It's-
DNS servers.
There's all kinds of issues with the tier of the DNS and where your DNS gets its load from, and there are all kinds of issues with
DNS is not easy to set up. It's pretty
No.
simple to maintain, but it's
That's
very
what I was
hard to
saying.
get it right. And
They should be
have
able
to
to
go.
get it right. They're a major ISP. They,
Yeah.
I mean,
they
they've
have to
got.
be able
I
to
agree with
pay
Nick.
somebody.
They've got no excuse for not getting it right.
It's not like it's not a ISP that's in one county of a state. I mean, they're all across the United States. If they can't get their DNS right, then there's a serious problem.
And I believe when I went in and checked, what I did was I wrote down the DNS that was there. Earthlink is using the Time Warner DNS. They're not using their own DNS anymore. So
Well, Gene says he had the same problem today with Time Warner through Earthlink.
so it's an issue. What did you do, Gene, to resolve it, or did it just fix itself? That would be see what he said.
But he's been on longer than you have.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I was out until literally I went downstairs for a while. I stopped playing around with it because I looked like I might have had other network issues. So I connected directly to the router with the PC because I have several switches. So I wanted to eliminate any issues. And when I came back
Well-
and then I played around with the DNS, I got it to work.
you can in order for you to know, I mean, it's real simple for you to know whether it's DNS or not. All you need is an IP of a
Right.
site.
So
And write
not
it down
having one
somewhere.
written down, the only thing I could ping was the DNS, which responded.
Yeah.
So I couldn't resolve another address. You know, there's a utility in the router that lets me ping a domain name. Or
Any of you are welcome to write the IP for Delta Force, which is 64.132.134.7. And if you can't connect and you suspect that it may have to do with DNS, type in the IP address and see if it connects then. And for those that don't understand what the DNS does, the DNS is just like the operator when 411. Nobody knows. You cannot dial Amnon. If you don't know the number for Amnon, you're going to have to call the operator, and the operator gives you the number. On the internet, it's IP addresses. It's not the names. The www and all that is just for people to understand. But there is a resolver, and that's what Mike was saying, that changes it to an IP, and then you connect to it. So if the DNS is not there, you don't get the IP address. So entering it manually will always work. And that's what you can do. You can just enter an IP address there. And if it connects, then you know the problem is with the DNS. I've been using our DNS for years, so I don't use
I
Time
would say
Warner.
that the issue that I observed, the slower it's, and again, I've told you I don't understand this stuff, but it looks to me like that whenever it goes to this site and it can't look it up, it almost is as if the first DNS can't find it, so it goes to the second one.
Actually, I mean, that would work great if that was the case. When you have two of them, it doesn't really go from one to the other in the same session.
I don't
Unless-
know. I mean, I'm
unless
saying
you
it's
wait-
as if
unless
the first
you
one
wait.
fails.
Unless you wait a long period of time, then it will. But it doesn't happen right away. So,
Yeah, I don't know.
but if you stop it and reload, then there's a very good chance it'll go to the second one. But if you see that the first and the second are consecutive numbers, then chances are it's the same machine, the same location, and chances are it will not do you much good.
Don't know.
Yeah, it's very annoying when it happens.
Dan, I feel your pain. Dan feels like he's being put out by people, and people will do that to you if you allow them.
The older generation and perhaps people with traditional values are few and far between these days. I seem to find more and more people seem to be a lot more selfish than they used to be.
I don't know where that's coming from.
I do. The vast majority of it's coming from the mind-numbing rubbish that they put on TV.
Well, expand on that, Steve, because I'm very curious about that. I don't watch any of this mind-numbing garbage on TV, so I don't really have an opinion as to how that is impacting these young minds, skulls full of mush, as they're often referred to.
Well, I don't watch that kind of thing either, but when you witness what people are sort of chatting about, either in text speak on the net or, I don't do Facebook and stuff, but you see... Hang on a minute, I'll just take that mint out of my mouth so that I don't sound like I'm rattling with my false teeth. It seems to be that, you've got people's attitudes on YouTube and reading between the lines of what they're actually saying. It's like, I don't care about anyone else, it's me that I care about. And that seems to be the attitude that is inherent from an awful lot of the younger generation. Not necessarily all of them, but I don't know. I think it sort of it breeds and it follows on, doesn't it? I don't think there's enough family interaction these days, where the youngsters are learning true values.
But how does it happen on a worldwide basis? I mean, if it happens within a family, you can figure the parents screwed up. If it happens in a country, you can figure the government screwed up. But how does it happen worldwide?
It's because of the net. It's one of the disadvantages of the net. It's seen, the programs are spread all over the world now. You've got, Britain's Got Talent, America's Got Talent, Australia, whatever country's got talent, and the X Factor and all these other kinds of mind-numbing, rubbishy programs where people are being belittled and being they're just being downright rude to them, and that's the sort of attitude that it's breeding amongst the youngsters, because the youngsters looking at it and thinking, well, that's perfectly acceptable to be rude like that to somebody.
And I mean, Tim says reality TV. He said realty TV, but that's about buying houses. I guess he meant reality TV.
Yeah.
And I think there may be something to that.
This is what I'm saying about America's Got Talent, and it's all the regurgitated rubbish that is then bought by another country and then put into their system as well and their television, and everybody's sort of being brainwashed in effect by the same sort of mind-numbing what they call entertainment. Well, it isn't entertainment in any way, shape or form. But the thing is, that's all that's on, so they haven't got anything else to watch. And they start thinking, well, people are watching this, but yeah, they're only watching it because you're not putting anything decent on.
Yeah, let me do a little momentary detour. I posted the cr3diabetes.org link in chat, cr3diabetes.org. If you have a Facebook account, please click on that link and vote for this organization to win a $25,000 grant from FedEx. They're competing for it. You can vote once per day. And what they're trying to do is to get the grant because they provide diabetic equipment and supplies to people who can't afford it. It has a really annoying video that plays every time you click on the link, but it's on the bottom right hand. You can stop it. But if you would please set a link and each day go there and vote on it in favor of it. I have no idea where they stand in the vote count, and they may have a competitor that has 25 times as many. I don't know, but it's a good organization. They do a good thing. I totally support them, and it doesn't cost you anything. He's not asking for your money, although you can send him some if you want to.
Yep.
But back to the matter at hand. I don't know. I mean, again, as it being a worldwide thing, I guess from a psychological aspect, it just blows my mind because things that mattered to us at age 15, 16, 17 don't matter to a lot of people at that age group. I mean, Nick is 17. We have a regular conversations with Nick. He's one of the good guys. He's not here, so I can talk about him. He's a very, very smart guy. And I mean, I don't mean kid. He's not a kid. He doesn't act like a kid. He's got it all together. But I'm not convinced he's typical of the of his age group. I mean, there are a lot of punks out there. So I don't know. Maybe things are cyclical. I mean, even Andrew's 28, 29 years old, and he's not typical of people in his age group. Maybe the internet groups we're in make you grow up faster. And of course, we're going backwards, but that's another story.
No, I think one of the issues is that raising children has become such a challenge with the obstacles that are put in the way of teaching them true civility. And it's so much now that, there is no competition, everybody's the same, so you may as well just sit back and take it, when, hey, you got to teach your kids that they're individuals and not part of a collective, that they're responsible for their own actions, that their actions mean something, that it affects the people around them, that they've got a place to have an effect on everything, and they're not being taught that anymore. It's like you want a great example of the way society is today. Sit out in front of a supermarket sometime and watch people pull up into the fire zone. Oh, I'm just running in for a few things, and leave their car there, go in and shop, and come out again, and you can't walk 25 feet to park their car.
Well, look at the people who park in the handicap spots using somebody else's sticker.
Yep.
They jump out and run in.
I saw exactly that the other day. I was sat at the doctor's surgery waiting for an appointment for an hour. So I sat in the car park opposite. Over in England, we've got like a yellow crisscross area where you're not supposed to park, or if you don't enter that crisscross zone, if you can't exit it. And it's designed so that people can use that as a turning space. So the amount of people that are pulling up there and either rushing into the surgery or rushing into the pharmacy, it's just insane.
Law enforcement has issues with these sorts of things. They have people who will stand there and argue with them to the point that they want to take out the gun and blow them away.
Mm.
I mean, they'll stand there and argue with law enforcement. Yeah. What do you mean I can't park in this handicapped spot? I need to get in there. I'm busy. I've got a ball game to catch. I can't sit here and go park 4 spots away.
I sprained my ankle when I was 18. I can't walk all the way in there.
They have to argue with them. I've had the conversation with some law enforcement officers. It's amazing. They had what was it the guy was telling me? It was mind-boggling, but he said he was following this speeder. He got behind the speeder, was clocking them with his speedometer, and had put on his lights. They ignored it. Finally put on the siren, and they saw him pulled over. And this guy just cussed him out for pulling him over. I don't know how he felt when he got out of jail. I just don't understand people. But Dan, I feel your pain. I do everything I can to try to help people too. I've spent a lot of time online helping people with audio and getting their podcasting, internet broadcasting set up. And one of the things that happened to me, in fact, this very past week, and I share this because I think it's interesting. It's no big deal at all, but a guy that I've spent quite a lot of time helping, I was looking around at some other things and found out that he's been on numerous other sites asking people I know the very same questions. So he's shopping for answers instead of asking for the advice. And then he hit me up with some more questions, and I just told him, I said, I really don't have time to do this. I've got other things got to do. I said, you've got other resources that you can ask these questions, and they're going to give you good answers. You might like them better, so I'm going to let you go ask them. And strangely enough, he caught on immediately to what I was talking about, and he wrote about a page-long apology, and he said, I've thought about it. It's really not fair to ask multiple people the same questions, and I was trying to do da-da-da-da-da. Anyway, so then he started right back in it. I'm not going to waste my time. I mean, I'm not saying I've got the best advice, but if you want my advice, I'll give it to you. If you don't ask for it.
Having worked recently with a lot of different individual customers and how there's an expectation level for responding. I have to say that there's probably an epidemic out there of non-responsiveness, because when I just do what I think is the normal response, what I should do, I get a call from a customer or I get a work order, I respond. I tell them, here's what I'm going to do, here's when I'll call you, here's how I'll contact you, here's how we'll set up a schedule. People are so surprised when you follow up because they don't expect you to, because the expectation is that nobody bothers. So it's pretty amazing. I say, yeah, I'll get a name for you for someone who can help you with that. And people are astounded when you actually get back to them the next day. Here's the name. I said, I get your name. Said, oh, that's great. Yeah. Oh, this just the expectation is that, if I get around to it, whatever.
A little bit like customer service, isn't it? When you get good customer service, you're shocked because you were used to it at one point and then it sort of totally went out of the window. And now all of a sudden it seems to be coming back a little bit. So when it does happen, it's like,
Yep.
Wow.
Why do you say that, Steve? What are you thinking about when you say it's coming back?
Well, it appears to be that there are a lot of the companies, certainly the bigger companies, are paying more attention, certainly to social media now, as opposed to just letting it go. And so what? We're just raking in money. We don't really care what customers want and what our clientele want. It does seem to be the bigger the company now that they're actually taking notice of what's going on Facebook and what people are actually saying on the social media sites and actually interacting and responding quite often positively as well. Certainly over here in the UK, I don't know if it's the same in the US, but in the UK, it does seem to be improving by a large margin on the larger companies. The small ones maybe not so much, but the big ones.
I think that while real-time communications is not the reason why we see this decline, I think it certainly has exacerbated it. It's made it easy to be exposed to bad behavior.
Like Mike was saying about Twitter, if you make a comment on Twitter that you've had a bad experience, quite often you'll get a reply coming back reasonably quickly, whereas before you had no hope in hell's chance of getting anyone to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading some things in a group. Spencer and Amnon know that I've taken a new interest lately into learning some things about woodworking, and it's a struggle for me because there's a lot I don't understand, but it's fun. And I've met some really good people along the way, most of them older. It's been a very interesting and rewarding experience. But that being said, there was a discussion recently on one of the forums that I read about the topic about maybe it's not a good idea to engage in vendor bashing because you're reporting one person's experience, and that experience, many times it may be that the individual contributed to the problem. Therefore, is it really fair to blast vendors in a public forum when, in fact, it may not be a common experience? I hear what they're saying, but I disagree with that. I mean, if I have a bad experience, I should have the right to talk about it. If I am unfairly criticizing these vendors, eventually anyone who reads my stuff will realize I just whine about it all the time and nothing I ever say has any credibility. But there are, and this is my observation, there are a lot of vendors out there that are misbehaving. And case in point, this hasn't happened to me yet, full disclosure. This is not my personal experience exactly, but it's been reported and widely reported, and in fact, it's well documented on the internet to the extent that you believe individual reports. Anyone who's listened to this show for a long time, Eric, you're wrong. Anyone who has followed this show for a long time knows that we have, for a long time, recommended Netgear routers because, in my experience, they have had, every time I bought a new one, it has had better range, good service, fast throughput. I mean, everything's been great on it. But some of the Netgear routers reportedly now have lifetime warranties on them. Well, I don't get more than about 2 to 3 years out of a Netgear router, then I end up having to throw it out and get a new one. That's fine. They're cheap. I don't really object to that. Don't know why it happens, but it does. It happens to friends of mine. I would always throw out the Netgear, buy a new one. That being said, the word is now that if you have a Netgear router that fails, and that Netgear has a lifetime warranty, whenever you contact Netgear to get a replacement in a lifetime warranty, they will not send you a replacement until you go through a troubleshooting session with them, because they want to make sure that it's the router that has failed and not something that you're doing wrong. The problem is they charge $40 for a troubleshooting session.
Really?
Yeah. So and I mean, when I read that, I said, nah, somebody's got it wrong. But if you take some time and look around, and you'll find out that people are swearing off Netgear right and left. I now have my last Netgear router. I can assure you that I'm not going to go that way. So that being said, John says his Linksys just died. The reason I switched to Netgear is because of the poor results I had from Cisco, from Linksys Cisco. But lately, I can't remember if I posted it here or somewhere. Some company did some pretty serious testing of which routers performed best with VoIP and media packets. Mm-hmm. And Linksys routers were far and away the best, and Netgear routers as a brand were not recommended.
Wow.
The Asus, who said, John just bought an Asus, and as I recall, the Asus was the top recommended router. But not all of them. It was one of the models. I posted the link somewhere. I probably should have saved it.
About 18 months ago, when I was having problems, I was using a new Belkin router, trying to work with SIP, and that was just an absolute nightmare. And Belkin didn't even know why it wouldn't work. I was there for several weeks, many hours trying to get the things to work. They even sent me the most up-to-date router, and it still wouldn't work with SIP properly. I ended up going with Netgear, just plugged it in, turned it on, it worked straight away.
Gene says that any company practicing total quality does not need social media to tell them how they're doing. They make it a point to find out themselves from their customers. It's called Six Sigma quality, and I know exactly what Gene's talking about. But I agree, Gene. But let's think about that a second. That means that the company has to really care what their customer perception is. Theoretically, that's why they spend the time and the money for Six Sigma certification. And if they're going to charge $40 to tell you whether they're going to send you a new router, they don't give a rat's behind what the customer thinks. I mean, no one in any stretch of anyone's imagination could imagine that a customer would be happy about paying $40 to find out if his router with a lifetime warranty is bad.
I think that Six Sigma is a great program, but I think social media can give a much faster reaction from the customers than you would get through Six Sigma. Six Sigma requires that you have a program in place to gather data from the customer outside of that social media, and a lot of people don't want to be bothered with that. So you'll get better responses, and you may weigh towards negative because people usually don't do much about something when they're satisfied. Right, they're more likely to complain and to do something that do something because of a negative experience.
Well, I went on Twitter a month ago, I guess. I don't know. Time flies when you're having fun, and I blasted Home Depot because I wasted a trip, I wasted time, I wasted a bunch of effort. And it really aggravated me, and so I blasted them on Twitter. Everything I said was totally true. I wasn't trying to do anything other than to relate my experience, because for that to have happened, they obviously had an internal issue. To their credit, and contrary to what Eric says, Home Depot made it right, and I went back on and started bragging about them. Moreover, and I do spend a lot of money at Lowe's and Home Depot, and since Home Depot went out of their way to make it right to me, I have shifted a lot of my business from Lowe's to Home Depot, so their little token gesture to make me happy has already paid for itself multiple times over. So you tell me whether it was good for them, for me to blast them on Twitter. They had an opportunity to demonstrate to me that they did in fact care about my business and wanted it, and they did, and they got it. Now, that doesn't mean Lowe's has done anything to lose my business, but if someone goes out of their way to say, we want your business, then I want to give it to them.
Yeah, I think I was thinking about the whole lifetime warranty issue and how if it was a really expensive product, it would make more sense. But at today's current price points, you can replace your router for $50. If you pay $50 every 3 years to keep your technology refreshed, I don't really care about the lifetime warranty anymore.
And that's why I don't make a big deal out of it, really. But the fact is that the routers are actually getting more expensive. They're getting a little more sophisticated, and they're getting into the $80, $90, $100, $150 range. At $150, I don't feel the same way as I do at $50.
Oh, no, I agree. But I wouldn't spend $150 on a router because I know what it requires to use the features, and the average person isn't going to use it. It means nothing. A dual band, the average person is not going to use the dual band capability of a router.
Well, explain to me what that means and why the average person is not going to use it.
Dual band means that it's got it can use one band for normal traffic, browsing, whatever, and another band for multimedia where you can stream across that. And that's supposed to protect the streaming session by having essentially more than one session going at the same time using a different radio frequency. So it really doesn't matter if you're not doing dedicated gaming where you need high resolution over wireless. It's not going to do you any good. Plus, you have to have a special adapter in the device to take advantage of the dual band. So there's a lot that has to match up. Some of the new technology that's come out in routers, yeah, it's good. It's better error correction, better range. Like when N first came out, it was really kind of flaky at first because it was the proposed standard. They really hadn't ratified the standard yet, so people were building routers and changing the chipsets every few months because the standard kept changing. So the standard, it was kind of wishy-washy, the rollout. Now N is a solid standard, and the new standard, I think it's AG. Is it AG or AC?
I can't keep up with it.
AC.
Yeah. Well, AC, is it?
Yeah. AC.
Yeah, AC. I mean, there are all kinds of wonderful features that are really meant for the business environment. Error correction, automatic dynamic load balancing, dynamic assignment of a lot of different attributes of the configuration of the network, plus the management of dual band and all that the average person just doesn't need.
You wouldn't need that as a home user, would you really?
And there's no way to overcome, I don't care what router you have today, unless you spend a ton of money, there's no way to overcome interference and congestion. If there's too many people in your neighborhood using wireless and they're close by, it doesn't matter what you put in place, it's still not going to work great because it's too congested. Because you're sharing the airwaves. Even though you're not sharing the network, you're still sharing the airwaves. And it's like you go in a room and you turn on your stereo and you turn it up loud and you're listening to a song, and somebody else comes in the room and turns on their stereo, turn it up loud, listening to their song. There's no way you're both going to have a good experience because you can't. There's nothing you can do unless you put on headphones that's going to stop the overlap of that noise. So the same is true with radio frequency. So in the commercial environment, in an office, they can design the network to be in such a way that there's little overlap and there's different frequencies assigned and there are the routers and the switches that are involved in building the network are so smart now that they automatically adjust for interference and adjust for outages and so on. That's been around for, probably 5 or 6, 7 years where that works really well, and it just keeps getting better. But in the average home, you're not going to do that.
Paul Underwood says he bought an Asus router for $65 from Newegg that he says smokes his top-end Netgear that he uses at work. And I have a couple of thoughts about that. One is that I believe Asus, and I don't know anything about them. I suspect that they're probably an OEM to some of the others or what. They're getting some good recommendations in certain circles that I read about these things in their router market. If I were to buy if I needed one today, didn't have to have it today, I probably would buy the one that Paul recommended just because I would like to try an Asus. I've never used one. I've used D-Link, I've used Belkin, Netgear, Cisco. I've used all the. I may go to Zyxel. By the way, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Zyxel, Zyxel. I had one of their routers for quite a long time, and it worked until it quit.
Zyxel was one of the original
modem
OEM manufacturers.
Yeah.
They didn't make their own brand for a long time. They built for Netgear.
Yes.
For many years. They might still do it.
Well, you know what was interesting is someone said you need to switch over to them because they put the same technology in their cheap routers that they have in their expensive ones, that the company is there, they actually support their product. And I said, well, let's see if that's true. So I sent an email to tech support and answered in 30 minutes.
I've got a Zyxel NAS, network attached storage device, 2 gigabyte. Well, I've had it for a couple of years now. Right down the lower end price of the spectrum. In fact, when I bought it, it was on offer, and it would have cost, I think it was about £5 more than the cost of the same hard drive that was inside it. It was £5 more to get the NAS box as well. So I thought, well, for the sake of £5, I'll order it. Not that I needed a NAS box, but I thought, well, it'll be handy. It's only going to cost £5 more, and I have used it extensively. And you're right, the support is very good. I had a query on one of the applications that came with it. It just wasn't very obvious on how you set something up. I got a reply back in 30 minutes as well. Very, very good, and it's been working fine for a couple of years. And lower end of the price range, but very good in my view.
Yeah, Zyxel is a very good name.
I think that, again, I'm going to backtrack a tiny bit on what I just said. If I were to buy one today, it would be between the Zyxel and this Asus that Paul posted, between the two. There's the problem with Netgear. I think we mentioned this before. There is a real problem with Netgear if you use one of the advanced features, which is remote management of the router, and that is that I have a lot of family and friends for whom I provide tech support for their internet, and what I do is I actually have remote management enabled on their router so that I can log in if they're having a problem with their internet. I can't get out or this computer can't connect. I can remotely log into their router to A, see if their internet is working, B, to see what devices are attached, and so forth. But they have now, and I'm going to show my ignorance on this topic. Maybe you guys can straighten me out on it. But what happens is when you log into the router remotely, you get a certificate error. It says that the certificate on the router is outdated. From what I understand, the certificate on the Netgear router is 128-bit, and it will not let you install a 256-bit certificate, and you can't get a 128-bit certificate anymore or something like that. There's some reason you cannot separately fix the problem yourself, and Netgear has ignored it. So what that all means is that whenever you log in to manage the router, that it takes 10 seconds to switch between pages because it has to fail the security test and then go ahead and give you the page anyway.
Mike, is your Kim trying to adjust focus?
Shouldn't be.
No,
Yeah, it's a little out of
his
focus.
It's not. It's his video is just very bad.
It's
So
very
he's
bad.
No, he's SD.
Yeah.
No, it's worser than that.
You want me? I'm going to turn the video off and then turn it back on and see if it helps.
Okay.
Just, I think it might be helpful to talk a little bit for a few minutes about home networking and some best practices that we've all experienced. But lately, I've had a lot of questions from people about range extenders and whether, well, I have low signal strength. Will that help? And I'm finding in a lot of cases that it doesn't. And the reason why is because it's not just a weak signal. It's got to do with interference from other devices that are in the neighborhood, in the area around where that person is using their network. And one thing I found that works very well, and I've installed this several times in people's homes, is using instead of extending the network with a range extender, is to use one of those power line network adapters to extend the network from your wired connection at your router to another point in the house where you can install another simple access point, another very basic wireless router. And that's what I have going in my house. I have a router upstairs. Actually, I know it's going to sound geeky, but I have three different wireless routers running in the house. One on one end of the house upstairs, one on the other end of the house upstairs, and one downstairs in the living room. And I extend that either using wired through wires that I've run through the house or through a power line adapter. So if you are having a problem with signal strength where it doesn't work the way you'd like, and you've tried to adjust either if you have movable antennas on the router, try placing it on the floor, try reorienting the antennas, look for anything that might be blocking the signal, and try different approaches. Move it around, move it to a different place in the room, try moving it to another room if possible. And if that all fails, it doesn't give you better results, then I highly recommend that you look at one of these power line adapters. And
Who
you can
makes
get them? Several manufacturers make them. I know that Zyxel makes it, D-Link makes it, Belkin makes it, Netgear makes it. You can get a good set. It's basically two pieces. It's you have two little white boxes that have Ethernet connections on them that you plug into the wall, and it uses the wiring in the house to extend the network. And they're up to, I think, 300 megabits now, which is
I saw one last night that was 500.
500. Wow,
They're pretty quick.
And so you're connecting with a 100 meg connection.
Yep.
And 500 meg isn't going to do you any good. So it sounds good. I mean, it sounds impressive.
Now, while we're talking about networking, let me also mention that an experience that I had lately, and if you're geeky enough to still be using Ethernet cables for your network, I recently upgraded my entire network from 100 megabit to a gigabit because all my computers have 1 gigabit NIC cards in them. But my switch, I have a 24-port Netgear switch. No, it's not Netgear. I had a 24-port Hawking Ethernet switch, but it was only 100 megabit. Mm-hmm. I purchased a new 1 gigabit 24-port switch, and I am stunned at how much faster the network is, the wired net. Now, if you're wireless, it won't make any difference. But if you're still using wired, my whole house is wired for Ethernet, and I am pleasantly stunned at how much faster it is, and where you will notice it being so much faster is when you're transferring files between computers. I have a computer sitting over near me that I use. I call it server, but I use it only as a file repository, and I periodically back up files to it, move files to it, TV shows that I save or whatever. And the difference in transferring at 100 megabit versus a gigabit, even with old cables, is dramatic. In fact, I can figure out what I did with them. I just purchased all new Ethernet cables for the house. They are Cat 6 instead of Cat 5, and so that's what I've done. I haven't put them in yet, but I will. Is my video still crappy?
No, it
looks much better.
Okay.
Hey, Spencer, I have a quick question about that Ethernet over power line adapter.
Sure.
How does that work in a house that's, let's say, 100 years old, where the power might not be as
there are issues. Someone just asked a question. Let's see, who was it? Dr. John about whether it needs to be on the same breaker, and this is a very good question. If you're familiar with how power comes into a house, modern power comes in as two 120-volt lines, which are in your circuit breaker panel, divide your service into two halves. So one half of your house is served by one of those 120-volt lines, and the other half is serviced by the other. So I haven't run into an issue yet with these power line adapters, but when I used to run X10, which is another method for doing control of devices over your power network in the house. If you're familiar with X10, it's a little wall switch you can use to, or different devices you can install in the house that will control power, control audio, and things like that. But when you try to plug in, say, one adapter on that's connected to one side of your breaker panel and another one that's connected to the other side, sometimes the communication between the two wasn't very good. So you would put in something called a bridge, which is just a small device that you install in the breaker panel that would give a signal path between the two different 120 volt segments of the power. I have not run into this issue with the power line adapters yet. It could be a problem in older wiring, and it could be a problem with some people's transformers, the way they're connected to the utility service. I have not run into it yet, but what you can do is move them around the house and try different combinations, different locations to get the best performance. It's not foolproof, but I haven't run into a lot of issues.
Go ahead. Those X10 modules, when they first came out, almost all of them failed. They had a design flaw. They had insufficient transient voltage protection on them, so you get a lightning storm, and almost always it'd knock them out. They ultimately came out with a replacement module that did not suffer from the problem, but unfortunately, my first foray into using X10 was on the first series, and so I got to where I didn't use them.
I've used them now. I had some permanently installed at replacing some outlets and some switches, which I don't use anymore, mainly because I don't really need them. But I used them over the holidays for, I must have 15 of the wall-mounted units that I use throughout the house, and that's how I control all the holiday lighting in the house. And I have
the new ones are fine.
Yeah, I have a bridge also that bridges between the two halves of the power panel, like I explained before. So maybe I don't run into a problem with the power line adapter. It may take advantage of that same bridge.
Yeah.
So
when I was reading about looking into that power, Ethernet over power in the early days, it was, and even, we had an X10 alarm system in the house that I installed. It was anything that's connected to that transformer. But that's when it's a house. If you live in an apartment building, or let's say a duplex or a quad, and they use the same transformer to provide the 220 to each apartment, then your neighbor can also get on it. Yeah. Houses normally have, each house has their own transformer outside. And as long as it goes into the transformer and coming back out, both phases will work. You don't have to go from one to the other.
So Spencer, let's say this house, it's almost 100 years old. Let's say I get these power line adapters and they don't work.
Oh, they'll work.
Even if the power isn't great in the house?
It makes no difference. Remember, it's using, as long as you get power running, then it'll work. It's not whether it's old electricity, old wires, or whatever.
Well, I'm not sure.
Wouldn't you experience a lot of signal loss and stuff if the power is not good?
It could be, but chances are the wiring. I'm thinking that I wonder what role the ground plays in this, because although the ones I've installed don't have 3-prong connectors on them,
they're only two. Yep.
I would think that it would work okay. An older house is not going to have a dedicated ground going to the boxes, but the neutral is ground anyway. So,
well, there goes Andrew. Andrew's saying it's working for him.
Yep. Yeah, I don't really think it'll be a problem. I don't think it's an issue But you're
Did
right.
Andrew
It could
call
be.
in?
He's
I would
on.
think that wiring is actually going to be, in some cases, better than the stuff we have out there today. I don't mean from a reliability perspective, but I mean just the quality of the wire they made back then is better than what you get today.
Okay, good.
Andrew, so tell us what was wrong.
Bad coil pack.
So what'd you do?
I told you.
I swapped out the coil pack.
Where did you go at this time of morning to get a coil pack?
I went at 8 in the morning and I got it.
Oh.
We're in New York. All the parts stores are open early. Last night when I swapped out the ignition cables and the spark plug, I noticed that when I disconnected one of the spark plugs, one of the cables, it wasn't shutting off the car. It's supposed to shut the car off when you disconnect it. So when I opened up the coil pack, when I disconnected, I saw that there was corrosion on the coil pack on 2 of them. So something went wrong with that coil pack, and it's new. I mean, the coil pack is less than a year old.
I keep telling you, don't use that car on the water.
I know there's something wrong. So I swapped out the coil pack, and that was it.
What do you think you are, James Bond?
Yeah. But it's crazy, right? How these parts go bad. I mean, it's a brand new part. It's a brand new coil pack. And it's a dealer item, too, that I put in. I just put a Duralast in, and it seems to be doing the job.
As far as I'm concerned, a coil pack is a coil pack. I don't believe in dealer item.
There's something to be said. I'll tell you something. I don't put Bosch stuff in my car ever. I put Denso.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree with you too, Amnon. But let's say it this way: maybe dealer items are not any better, but some of these aftermarket parts are bad. I mean, you to the extent that you trust John at Imperial,
Yeah.
and Adam, they'll tell you to stay away from Bosch.
I don't know.
Because
Everything
Amnon,
everything.
when they put a part in a car and they have to replace it, it costs them money, and they won't touch it.
I'll tell you something else. Bosch makes a lot of spark plugs, and I don't put anything. Those NGKs, those cheap, lower-end NGKs, those are the best ones to put in the car.
Yeah, but aren't they twice the price too?
NGK? No, they're cheaper actually. Bosch was, I got the Platinum 4-tipped Bosch spark plugs, and they're like $2.99, and the NGKs are like $2.
Yeah, that's $2.99 is a great price for those plugs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean they're the higher end ones too, and they were $2. We have some place called AutoZone. I don't know if you guys have them there.
We do.
Yep, we got it. I just turned 100,000 miles on my Impala, and it's due. I haven't replaced the plugs yet. And
if you're changing a
I have
sensor,
them sitting there I have them sitting in my garage, ready to be replaced. But
I'll tell you another thing. If you're changing any kind of sensors, any oxygen sensors, map sensors, any of them, make sure you buy Denso as the brand.
Sensor?
Don't buy the Bosch sensors.
Isn't it DENSA?
DENSO, Denso.
Denso, okay.
yeah, I've heard of them too.
They make all pretty much. It's a Japanese company. They make plastics. They make lighting for cars. They make all the non-aftermarket OEM parts for the cars. So when you open up like a Japanese car, if you look under the hood, you're going to see Denso everywhere. It's by far the best one to put. I'm not a fan of Bosch at all. I've heard that too, Mike. I've heard it from a couple of people, and I thought it was just people being a little obsessive compulsive with the stuff that they put in the car.
Had the same impression.
I totally agree, because I've had spark plugs go bad that are Bosch. Higher end spark plugs go bad, and those NGKs, they totally last.
Just let me remind you one thing. Real cars don't use spark plugs.
Well, real cars, you got to crank them in the back too. You got to spin that crank and then let it go.
Real cars use steam.
Yeah. I'll tell you, a lot of people, one thing my father did that was brilliant was when I was a kid, from like the age of 5, he would tell me to come sit outside and watch him work on the car. And because my father was a mechanic, and I've learned pretty much everything by just looking at him and doing it. And it really saves you a lot of money to be able to do this. I mean, the last 2 weeks, you guys, I spoke about it last week on the show. I had a heating problem. I had to change one of the valves. That would have cost me. How much do you think it would have cost me in New York to change the steam valve on my heating? $300?
No idea.
To get probably $300 to get the guy in here and look at it. And if I took this to the shop, it probably would have cost me about $400.
Yeah.
And it makes it so easy to read up and learn this stuff on the internet now.
Spence, did you have a chance to look at specials or?
Oh yeah, it was all done before I even logged on. I just didn't realize I was going to have a problem.
All right.
Yeah, I've got it all. I'm ready to do it when you are.
You go for it whenever. I mean, you can go for it.
You like my? No, I didn't get any comments about my Olympic opening ceremony background here.
Oh, is that what it is? I thought that was something to do with the moon.
No, this is the picture of the. Here, let me blank my camera. This is a picture of the tribute they did to the Russian space program during the opening ceremonies. Just thought it was pretty funny. A lot of the stuff, we can go into this discussion later if you want about the opening ceremonies and how ridiculous it was.
I didn't watch it.
It's like we just saw this great opening ceremony about how great Russia was, but we completely whitewashed the murder of 40 million people.
Well, there's that. We can come back to that because I haven't kept up with any of it. I'm curious what the current view is, so we can come back to that after specials.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I followed the Twitter feed after the opening ceremony. A lot of people were scratching their heads, but oh well. Needless to say. All right. Now, there's a deal that today that I've been toying with the idea of replacing my phone, upgrading my phone, and I think I might just go do this today. But Walmart has iPhones on sale. You can get the 5S for $45 with a trade-in, and I'll take any working smartphone. If you sign up for a 2-year plan, which I would have to do anyway to do an upgrade. And that's for AT&T, Sprint, and Verizon. So a 5S for $45 with a trade-in. You can get a 5C for 1 cent with a trade-in, so 1 penny, and get a $55 Walmart gift card with it. So they're paying you $54.99 to buy a new 5C iPhone with a 2-year commitment. So I thought that was pretty amazing. That's at Walmart. There are some other deals out there. Best Buy has I think a 5C for $49, something like that. But there are other deals out there, but none as good as this Walmart thing. Office Depot has a 10.1-inch HP AMD A4 touchscreen laptop with Office Home and Student for $249. Save $50. They've got the 8-inch Dell Venue Pro 8 tablet with 32 gig of memory for $249.99. Save $50. They've got an HP wireless inkjet starting at $69. Brother Laser printer scanner copiers with duplex starting at $149. Save $50. 15.6-inch Dell i3 touchscreen laptop for $399.99. Save $150. They've got an HP AMD A4 desktop computer for $299, save $50. They've got Western Digital MyBook USB 3.0 hard drives. They've got a 3 terabyte for $119.99, save $10. That's at Office Depot. At Office Max, they've got a Lenovo 15.6-inch E1 laptop, AMD E1 processor for $259.99, save $110. Lenovo 17.3-inch Pentium processor, that's a dual core, $349.99, save $100. They've got the Lenovo 7-inch IdeaPad tablet with 8 gig of memory for $79, save $20. They got a D-Link gigabit switches, a 5-port switch for $29.99, save $8. An 8-port switch for $39.99, save $10. They have Verbatim 32 gig USB flash drive for $19.99, save $30. They've got a Samsung 11.6 inch Chromebook. Now this comes with a new processor, which I don't know much about, but it's a Samsung developed processor called Exynos. It's EXYNOS. I guess it's Xynos processor for $249.99. If anybody has any information about that, let us know. I remember hearing something about it, but I don't have any experience with it. They've got some monitors on sale. AOC 20-inch LED monitor for $89.99, save $20. 22-inch monitor for $119.99, save $20. And they've got a Dell 24-inch LED monitor for $149.99, save $50. They've got an APC 1500 VA, and this is a big boy battery backup unit for $169.99, save $30. They've also got the Lexar micro SD cards, 16 gig for $14.99, save $15, and 32 gig for $24.99, save $25. That's all at Office Max. At Staples, I think we talked about this last week, Mike, with paper deals. Multi-purpose paper, $3.99 a ream, save $3. That's with a rebate. That's individual reams. And then they've got a 5-ream case of copier paper for $6.99. And that's with a rebate, save $19 with the rebate.
Right, and that makes the individual reams. You'd have to that'd be silly to buy an individual ream. You can store the stuff. No, I mean
this is copier, specifically copier paper. The other paper was multi-purpose.
I don't think it matters.
Yeah, I just find it I don't use inkjet much at all, but the copier paper with an inkjet tends to soak up a lot of ink.
Yeah,
uses it up pretty quick. There's no gloss to the page, but still $6.99 for a 5-ream case. That's cheap.
That's a good price. Yeah.
Yep. Samsung Galaxy Tab or Galaxy S4 phone, 1 cent after rebate with a 2-year activation. Save $50. They've got a 15.6-inch HP A6 laptop for $329.99, save $230. Western Digital MyBook USB 3.0 drive for 2 terabyte for $99.99, save $10. 3 terabyte for $119.99, save $10. 50% off all USB 2.0 flash drives. Brother GL700 Pro label printer, $39.99, save $60. Now, this printer is one that can be used to print postage, print labels for file folders, print shipping labels, so it's a versatile printer. Don't know what the materials, the supplies cost, but it's 66% off, so good deal. Or I should say, not quite 66%, but close. $40 with 60 off, so you're saving a bunch of money on that. That's at Staples. Finally, at Best Buy, they have a 15.6-inch HP AMD A6 touchscreen laptop for $379.99. They've got the Kindle Paperwhite on sale, $99, save $20. They've got a Class 10 SanDisk micro SD cards. These all come with adapters, SD adapters. 8 gig for $12.99, save $12. 16 gig for $17.99, save $22. 32 gig for $30.99, save $39. And Class 10 is what you would need if you're going to do recording a video to your device. It's a faster write speed. Acer 20-inch LED monitor for $89.99, save $40. They've got an HP K4000 Bluetooth keyboard for $24.99, save $25, half price. And they've got a 2 terabyte Seagate Backup Plus USB hard drive for $89. That's a desktop drive, not portable. Save $10, and that's at Best Buy. And that be it.
That's it?
That's it.
Anybody here purchased anything from Best Buy lately?
No.
I went with a neighbor to buy something there.
I did, actually.
And?
I have a horror story about that.
Of course.
So, when Jess bought my TV from Best Buy, actually, my Christmas present, and it came with a $50 gift card to buy whatever you want. And we totally forgot about it, and we had to use the gift card before, I think, January 2nd or something like that. So the night before, we went out, we had a couple drinks, we came back, and we were both pretty drunk, and we proceeded to try to figure out what to order from Best Buy. So we ordered $50 worth of batteries. And now, every week, I receive 3 emails from them saying, hey, how was the service at Best Buy? How do you rate our service at Best Buy? How was your experience at Best Buy? I get it 3 times a week.
I've noticed these companies pulverizing us with a lot of more emails as well, as Twitter included. And I've just started unsubscribing from a lot of that stuff.
I have a friend that has a really successful clothing line, and he's really gotten pretty successful here in New York. It's called the 7 Line, and it's Mets parody shirts. So he makes baseball parody shirts. And once in a while he would have a sale, and he would send out like a mailing list of like what he had. Now he sends one out every day. I called him, and I said, hey, listen, I don't want to sound like a jerk or anything, but I think this is going to annoy a lot of people that you're sending a mailer every week. Why not just do it twice a week or once a week? He's like, oh, I had no idea that. He goes, I had no idea that that's annoying to people. I'm like, yeah, it's really annoying to people. And he stopped. He does it twice a week now.
Well, I thought that's not what I thought you were going to say, because Preparation H, many years ago, when they first started advertising on television, their business went up dramatically. And however, they also started receiving a large number of complaints about, who do you think you are putting this sort of nastiness on television? We can't even watch our family watch television without seeing a Preparation H commercial on television. You should immediately stop putting this stuff out there. It's ridiculous. And this went on and went on and went on. Finally, internally at Preparation H Company, they said, we might be hurting ourselves. Let's investigate this issue. They conducted a research study to determine that of all the people complaining about the Preparation H commercials, none of them had hemorrhoids, so the commercials continued and their business continued to grow.
Andrew?
Yes, sir.
Technical stuff.
Okay, shoot.
Other than embedding the video from Dailymotion where we're looking at it now, why can't I see it on the Dailymotion site?
It is.
When I go to the Nissan Communications, it's showing it's only showing the ones that are uploaded.
So you have to set the video as the default.
Okay, so never mind now.
Yeah. You have to set the video as default.
All right.
And Amnon, that question you messaged me, yes, I do.
Okay. That's kind of weird. So, you were talking about the Sochi picture and all that. The Washington Post reports that the 2014 Sochi Winter Olympics start tonight, but if you're among the 9% of U.S. households who have broadband but don't subscribe to pay television, it will be nearly impossible to legally watch the games online this year. That's because while NBC is streaming all of the events live online, full access to the live stream will only be available to paying cable subscribers. And thanks to a $4.38 billion exclusive deal NBC struck with the International Olympics Committee in 2011 for the privilege of broadcasting the Olympic Games in the U.S., through 2020, cord cutters don't have a lot of options. Is this a money play by Comcast NBC to get some subscribers back? Should the FCC step in and require NBC to at least provide a stream of their OTA content? Well, I don't know what's OTA.
Over the air.
Over the air.
Oh. I don't understand. if they're providing the online only to their paid subscribers, what would paid subscriber require? I'm not following.
I'm okay. So I'm okay with a couple things. I want to become a cord cutter.
Yeah.
The problem is there are certain things that I watch that are not available, and it's a one or two things that I watch that are not available that I want to watch.
Right.
So I can't cut the cord,
That's
but
fine.
I would like to be able to take whatever device I have, whether it's a laptop or a smartphone or my iPad, and be able to watch whatever I want to watch wherever I am.
Oh, okay.
Right now, you cannot do that. You could only do it in your own home. So Fios, for example, if you have the Fios app on your iPad, you could watch TV on your iPad, but only if you're in your house. DirecTV has been doing this for years, or Dish, one of them has been doing this for years, where you could watch it anywhere you want. It doesn't matter as long as you have your login.
Time Warner allows you to watch wherever as long as you have your login.
Yeah, they just started doing that. Time Warner lets you do that. Now, the other problem that we're having with the cable companies that I do think the FCC should step in is that Verizon now, there's been proof, it's not 100%, but there's been proof that they are manipulating what gets prioritized, what kind of bandwidth gets prioritized. So people are complaining that with certain features like certain file sharing, so somebody was using it to transfer files to business, and that's how they kind of figured it out, that he was being regulated. I've been saying this for years, that they're doing some sort of packet shifting, because we used to be able to do FTP. I used to be able to FTP to Suncast, and I used to send everything to him at 7 megabytes a second. 7 megabytes. Now, he's lucky if he gets 200K from me via FTP. They're doing some packet shifting, and they're denying it, but I'm 100% convinced that they are. And now people are convinced that because of Netflix, they're totally throttling Netflix usage.
Yeah, and this guy here in this article he says that he noticed some odd discrepancies between two different Verizon broadband connections he has access to, his personal residential plan and his company's business plan. Both went through the same Verizon routers, but his residential plan is getting unusably low speeds to places like AWS. He suggests that Verizon is already waging a war on high bandwidth services like Netflix after the recent court decision against net neutrality.
You know, I had this problem for a while with them where whenever I would stream to more than 2 CDNs, my connection would die. I mean, it would just totally die. And I called and I called and I called, and I finally got to a higher level tech, and he's like, oh, no, we don't do anything like that. We don't regulate your bandwidth. And then the following day, I never had the problem again.
This guy here says that his discussion with the Verizon service representative seemed to confirm it, though it's uncertain whether such an employee would have access to that information. So it's interesting.
No, I don't think someone on that level would have it, but I do. Yeah. I am convinced that they are doing it along with everybody else. They've all been doing it for a while, and we just haven't caught on.
Well, so do you have a Vio?
I do not.
Sony sold Vio this week.
Who bought it?
A Japanese investment fund. Japan Industrial Partners, JIP, will take control of the operation for an undisclosed fee. And Sony will cease planning, design, and development of PC products for a variety of reasons, including the drastic change in the global PC industry. Sony says the optimal solution is to concentrate its mobile products lineup on smartphones and tablets and to transfer its PC business to a new company.
You know, they've always made really good stuff. Laptops, the Vios were beautiful, but they were way too expensive.
It's interesting why they would think that it's not a good idea to keep, but another company in Japan will take it.
I mean, look at IBM. They got rid of the ThinkPad.
Yeah, well, they're getting rid of more stuff. Now
How well Lenovo's doing now.
What?
saying, look at how well Lenovo is doing now at the moment. They're on a big buying spree, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, but that's not unusual or hard to figure out. Is that it depends on where your enthusiasm is. It's not technical capability. I mean, all the computers are made by Foxconn anyway. And if they lose their enthusiasm or drive for a particular product line, they ought to get rid of it.
It's not a matter of making money. It's a matter of how much money they're making and how much of a hassle it is to make that money.
And also the research and development cost in keeping up with the competition. That's got to be a massive part of it.
I mean, think about it. It's a matter of scale. And just to use an exaggeration, if there's a particular product line that a company is making $100,000 a year profit, they're not going to waste their time. If it's a small business making $100,000 a year, they're going to be enthusiastic about it.
Hey, whatever happened to Cisco divesting themselves of Linksys? I thought they essentially shut that division down, but you don't see it going away.
I don't know. I had the same question.
Don't know. But now IBM is trying to sell their
chip development,
chip manufacturing.
Yeah,
trying to get rid of it.
Yeah, their goal is to become a cloud services company.
Well, they haven't really been out in the forefront for a long time with chip making.
Ooh, I disagree.
No, but I mean what I mean by that is that they have not had. They do make specialty chips, very specialized for their own hardware, but they have not been out there as a big, like Intel would develop chips for the industry. IBM doesn't do it.
Disagree. You don't see them as much. You're not identifying them, but I'm telling you, they're big. They are gigantic.
I mean, chip manufacturing will never go out of style. I don't understand this.
Well, there's a difference between making chips and fabbing chips.
Well, all
right.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, that a lot of the companies who manufacture chips, once they get the design complete, they have the lithography done, they have all of the tools in place to manufacture, and then who actually turns the silicon into a chip is the fabbing process. That's the last part of it. That's like the foundry part of it, and probably the least profitable part of it. It's totally a commodity thing.
Yeah, the article says that they're going to divest themselves of the manufacturing, but keep chip design in-house.
Yeah.
Well,
in and of itself, that's probably not a big deal, because I would not be surprised to learn that other companies like TSMC could do a very good job of manufacturing the foundry work. Again, they probably don't do a good job of design and of the chips, but in terms of the actual final step of manufacturing, they may be hard to beat because of the quantity.
It says that IBM is also making fewer chips for external customers,
right?
Giving it more reason to jettison the unit. IBM factories make chips for the latest generation video game consoles from Sony and Microsoft, but both companies shifted their latest machines to AMD. So they lost that business. They still make it for Nintendo.
Yeah, they make for a lot of places that you never know about.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, Amnon.
Are we going to see Chromecast development from Craig Digital Designs too?
Probably not.
It says Google is fine. What?
It's the same thing as Android development. I mean, maybe. It just depends on how they open it. I mean, currently Android development is a total joke. I mean, the stuff, the SDK that Google releases is way outdated. It doesn't work right. The programs that they give you to use to develop don't work either. It's not a good state right now.
All right, so never mind. I'm not even going to get into this.
Well, no, get it. Why'd you ask the question and then not say anything about it?
No, it just said that Google finally released the SDK for Chromecast, which will allow third-party developers to stream content to the living room via Chromecast. But if
see, the thing with the Chromecast is they released the SDK, but you have to integrate with an app.
Yeah. Okay.
So for example, for let's say Nissan Communications wanted an app, it'd have to have an Android app or an iOS app that interfaced with the Chromecast. It's not like the Roku where you can build a standalone app. I don't believe.
Okay, here, listen to this talking about iOS and Android. Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak has some advice for Apple CEO Tim Cook. Consider offering a phone based on the rival Google Android platform.
Yeah, he's insane.
Speaking at the Apps World Conference in San Francisco, Wozniak made the suggestion of an Apple Android device when responding to a question about the fate of the faltering BlackBerry platform, saying that BlackBerry should have built an Android phone and that Apple could do so too. BlackBerry's very sad for me, Wozniak lamented. I think it's probably too late now for an Android-based BlackBerry phone. Apple, was said, has some lucky victories in the marketplace in the past decade, and BlackBerry's demise may provide a cautionary tale. There's nothing to keep Apple out of the Android market as a secondary phone market. I guess they can do it, but the whole thing is about iOS, right? Andrew, why did you say he was insane?
Oh, he's crazy. They should develop an Android phone. I mean, that's the most insane thing I've ever heard. He's just being a troll. I mean, he's not legitimate at all anymore.
Is he pissed at Apple?
I think so. It seems like something weird happened with him. You know, and why would Apple make an Android phone? I mean, that's it's like saying, oh, you know what Microsoft should do? They should offer a free copy of OS X with every purchase.
No.
I mean, that's just silly.
Well, not necessarily.
Why would Apple want to do that? They have their own ecosystem. They have billions of dollars invested in their own ecosystem.
Wanting to get more of the market share, that's a way to do it.
That's not getting more market share. They're going to lose market share if that's what they do.
I don't know.
Create an Android phone that actually works. Well, I don't think that's a stupid idea at all.
Why would they want to further develop and improve another ecosystem when they have one that's better than the one that
so they own the whole market. If they develop and make Android better, then who else is? What's their next competition? Windows Phone? That's not a competition at all. I mean, it does sound like a way out there idea, but when you actually think about it, literally they would be the only manufacturer in the market.
I think that Wozniak slipped and hit his head when he was on Dancing with the Stars.
I really do think that's what happened.
All right, so now for you in New York. The New York City Police Department is trying to determine how useful Google Glass would be for law enforcement. And from the article, it says the New York City Police Department massive and controversial intelligence and analytics unit is evaluating whether Google Glass is a decent fit for investigating terrorists and helping cops lock up bad guys.
I love the fact that they think we're like living in RoboCop era, where you put on this glass and then it'll say, oh, Mike Phillips from North Carolina. There's an existing warrant out for his arrest. It doesn't work like that. We're 20 years away from that.
They received several pairs of the modernist-looking specs to test out. We signed up, got a few pairs in the Google glasses, and we're trying them out, seeing if they have any value in investigations, mostly for patrol purposes. A ranking New York City law enforcement official told them. That's interesting, though. I mean, it goes there. I was reading another article that South Korea now is using Kinect to monitor the DMZ. That it is better than the specifically designed equipment to monitor movement on the DMZ. They're using Kinect. So you think the soldiers up there will start playing games?
That might bring peace.
Yeah. And with the release of listen to this piece of news. With the release of Windows 8.1 to the world in October, January was the third full month of availability for Microsoft's latest operating system version, which was just enough time for it to pass Windows Vista in market share.
Ooh.
Well, Windows 8.1 is certainly growing steadily and eating into Windows 8's share. The Duo only managed to end 2013 with 10% market share, barely impacting Windows 7. So there's more. I wonder how many more of Windows ME did they pass?
I was going to say, what was it, back in October? It surpassed the market share of Windows Bob.
All I'm saying is wait till Windows 9. They fixed almost everything people hated.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah, until that comes out, and then everybody hates that too.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
The thing is, it's not going to be Windows
I've seen
9.
some stuff that I'm gonna put on the show in 2 weeks. But from what I've seen, I think that this is going to make almost everybody happy.
Well,
Andrew, and I hope it does, but you know it won't. You and I both know that the second that thing comes out, people are going to have a whole new list of problems and reasons to complain about Windows.
People didn't complain Windows 7.
True, but I think
if they can address the corporate user by coming out with something that's friendlier to the corporate environment, bypassing the user interface issues, then that'll be a home run for them.
I'll say this: what if there was a version of it that was for enterprise that had no Metro at all?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If they can get rid of Metro and just have an enterprise version that goes right to desktop.
But there's another problem there. Mm-hmm. That a lot of corporate America is upgraded to Windows 7, and they're not going to upgrade to Windows 8 or 9 or 10 anytime soon. Because that's not like us sitting at home and say, okay, well, yeah, I'm going to upgrade. That's corporate America sits there on an operating system for a long time before they upgrade. The fact that they are delaying XP end of life actually will help, because a lot of companies are going to still stay with Windows XP, and maybe whenever Windows 9 comes out, then they can jump directly to it, then they'll do it. But those that went to Windows 7 and went to Windows 7 because they saw that Windows 8 is not for them, I don't think they're going to go for it.
No, but there are a lot of people that went to Windows 7 a couple of years ago, and they're going to go.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, yeah. I'll go for that.
I mean, it's a revolving door, but I mean, Windows 8 was an incomplete operating system. That's a fact. It was not complete. They totally alienated enterprise, and it was a toy for them to play with, and they realized that people did not like it, and now this is a new Microsoft that they're actually listening to the complaints, and they're giving everybody what they want. The start menu's back. You're going to be able to boot into desktop. You're going to be able to pretty much live eternally in desktop without seeing Metro at all. And if you have Metro apps, you're going to be able to float them and run them in desktop. That's exactly what people wanted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you noticed last time when they released it, even with 8.1, there was no information as far as performance gains. Did you notice that? There was no performance gains at all between 7 and 8.
Right.
Now, with Windows 9, they're going to be talking about performance gains for, day-to-day use with the operating system.
The next version isn't going to be called Windows 9, though, is it? It's 8.2.
No, 9.
I think they want to get away from the 8. 8 is already have a bad name, so I don't think they're going to stay with 8.
Yeah. They're releasing 8.1 Update 1 in a couple of weeks, and then it's going to be called Windows 9. 8, they want to run away from it as fast as possible.
And for those of you that use cell phones, tablets a lot, over at the EFF, he said, we just released a version of our HTTPS Everywhere extension for Firefox and Android. HTTPS Everywhere upgrades your insecure web requests to HTTPS on many thousands of sites. And this means that Firefox on Android with HTTPS everywhere is now by far the most secure browser against dragnet surveillance attacks like those performed by the NSA, GCHQ, and other intelligence agencies. Android users should install the Firefox app and then add HTTPS everywhere to it. iPhone and iPad user will unfortunately have to switch to Android to get this level of security because Apple has locked Mozilla Firefox out of their platforms.
90
I didn't know
seconds.
How much do you think Mozilla paid for EFF to do that?
I have no idea.
Because that's just not that's they should have done it on Chrome if they really were smart, but Mozilla must have been willing to pay a lot more.
And this story here, February 2014 web server survey by Netcraft shows a massive increase in the share of Microsoft web server since 2013. Microsoft's market share is now only 5.4% points lower than Apache's, which is the closest it ever been. If recent trends continue, Microsoft could overtake Apache within the next few months, ending Apache's 17-plus year reign as the most common web server.
So why do you think that is, Amnon?
I'll tell you, I don't think that the statistics are correct. I think it's more watering down of Apache. I mean, a lot of people, we used to use Apache years ago, and then we went to others on the Unix platform. We used Leidy. Now we're using Nginx. There was another one in between.
So you think that when they say...
I think it's more because Apache is losing numbers than IIS gaining that many more. But the statement is correct. Okay, so we have more than Apache. But that's not... I still don't know any serious ISP that we talk that run Windows servers. I don't. Everybody I talk with, it's always Unix, Linux.
Yeah, but there's a difference in being an ISP and having web hosting. I mean, a lot of as I understand it, a lot of the Windows hosting is like our company where it's internal. We have tons of Windows servers.
Yeah, a lot of people. I hear Nick and Sean and Joey talking and Jim, and it's Nginx now.
I'm still using Apache.
So
at the end of the day, does it really matter?
No, not really. Not to the customer. If it's only a website, if you are in a e-commerce situation, I think you really need to worry about security. And I'm not saying this from experience. I'm saying this from past hearsay. That a lot of administrators that were using Windows said that how vulnerable it is, how vulnerable IIS is, and they're changing. And I know I have customers that are our customers just because of the fact that we're running it on Unix and not Windows, because they don't want to go with Windows. So I don't know.
Well, I've played around with Windows Server, and I have my shared hosting accounts that are all Linux-based. There are some interesting things about Windows Server, but I don't know. I would be pretty hard-pressed, like you say, Amnon, to depend on it. There may be some applications that require it that you really have no other choice, but
if you
that's
want
kind
ASP,
of the way it goes.
Well, even if you want ASP today, for a few years now, there are, what do you call them? Not converters, but emulators that can do it. I think the bad thing that happened back in the early days that gave it such a bad name is that in order to run a web server on Unix, you really had to know a lot. You had to be a system administrator to install a web server. It wasn't like today when you take Ubuntu or whatever and do it. To do a Windows installation was if you knew how to use Windows 95. You sort of don't shake your hand. I mean, I know people that knew nothing about doing hosting that started an ISP business.
Amnon, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, I saw it firsthand that there were some things that you could do during the installation of Windows Server.
Yeah.
If you got it wrong, you had to wipe out your hard drive and start over. There was no fixing.
You didn't let me finish.
There were selections, absolutely. There are selections you would make in the configuration that would...
You didn't let me finish.
Well, it's your show. What makes you think you can finish?
The thing is that it was so easy to set up a hosting, a web server on a Windows platform, because these people, it's just like Windows, so let's do it. And exactly what you just said happened. They did not know enough what to choose. It looks like Windows and it's working, so everything must be okay. Well, it wasn't okay.
Well, you could run a very simple web server on Windows XP using IIS.
Yep. Right.
But that didn't go very far.
So
I mean, I even had this conversation with Nick not long ago. We were talking about hosting, and my comment is that the barrier to entry is very, very low, but it's a major commitment if you're going to provide services to other people. You'd better be prepared for calls 24/7, and you better know what you're doing, and you better know how to manage your software.
Well,
or have somebody who does. People get upset. You think about what happens when your internet goes down or whenever your website goes down. I mean, it gets heated pretty quickly.
Yeah. So HP now, and this is the last story I'm going to get into. HP is going to have a problem with many of their customers. They issue an email informing all existing enterprise server customers that they would no longer be able to access or download service packs, firmware patches, and bug fixes for their server hardware without a valid support agreement in place. They say that HP has made significant investment in its intellectual capital to provide the best value and experience for our customers. We continue to offer a differentiated customer experience with our comprehensive support portfolio. Only HP customers and authorized channel partners may download and use support material. In line with this commitment, starting in February 2014, HP company will change the way firmware updates and service packs for ProLinia on HP ProLinia server products are accessed. Select server firmware and SPP service pack on these products will only be accessed through the HP Support Center to customers with an active support agreement. HP Care Pack or warranty linked to their support center. So if a manufacturer ships hardware with the author is writing, if a manufacturer ships hardware with exploitable defects and takes more than 3 years to identify them, should the consumer have to pay for the vendor to fix these defects?
I was just going to ask, what happens when I work on somebody's 3-year-old laptop, try to reinstall Windows and want to try to get to the drivers?
Now, wait. Now, remember, they are talking about enterprise servers. They're not talking about end-user machines.
Well, I hope not.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's like I'm comparing it to Nortel selling piece of hardware and support with it. Now, could any user, if they did not have support, Spence, go a year later and download and update their hardware?
No.
Okay, so it's kind of the same thing.
I don't really see this as a major shift.
Well, it's a shift for them, and it's a shift because customers who were used to get all these things for free are now going to have to pay. That's the shift.
There are some business realities, and if they were going over and above board and costing themselves money such they're taking all the profit out of the line, then I understand that. Yeah. What I don't like is whenever these A, disclosures are not up front, or B, they are retroactive and they are actually changing the contract, but they know that it's not enough money for you to sue to enforce the original contract. That's when I don't like it.
Well,
I mean, bottom line, you take...
They have to make money, bottom line.
Absolutely. They have to make money, and the market, I mean, the margins in the desktop market are non-existent now. I don't know how companies plan to stay in that business. I mean, that's where Apple is leading the field because their markups are dramatic. I mean, they're making money hand over fist, even though they're only selling a handful of computers. But then again, if that's what it takes to get the service and the support, then that may be what it is. If companies like Netgear decide they're not going to provide support, then I run away from Netgear. If other companies emulate their way of doing business, I leave them in the wind too. Fortunately, with a Windows-based computer, you generally don't need very much support from the manufacturer for non-laptops, for desktop computers, because we can pretty well fix anything in them, even to the point of having to replace a motherboard if necessary with a brand other than the one that came in the box. I've put non-HP motherboards into HP computers before. I mean, as long as it's not a proprietary board layout, there's not a problem there. But if all else fails and you end up getting desperate enough to have to go with Apple to get their support, then you just have to go with Apple. But we're not, thank God, there yet.
Talking about motherboards, I had a chuckle this week. A customer ordered an i7. So I go to get the stuff from Draymond, and he said, well, you know that Intel is getting out of the motherboard.
I thought they were already out.
So they started carrying ASUS. I said, okay, that's fine. Do you know the board will fit in the palm of my hand? It's ridiculous. A motherboard, I mean, it's literally, I mean, well, maybe in two, on top two hands.
Yeah.
But it is a very, very small, I mean, I'm looking at the thing, I said, boy, for the money, I hope the customer is not going to ask to see the motherboard because it doesn't look impressive anymore. It's a little bitty thing sitting in there. But
and is it a full-speed motherboard? I mean, what about cooling?
No, it's nice.
How do you put 4 memory modules in it if it's that small?
You don't. You put 2.
How many PCI slots? PCIe slots?
2. 2 plus... PCI, the full length, the video, and 2 of the shorter ones.
All right, I got to get out of here.
It's neat. All right. Andrew, still here? I guess not. Steve,
he's napping.
That's all right.
Yep, still here.
He's drunk.
All right. Well.
He's celebrating his victory over his Subaru.
It was fun. I'm going to wait and see how... This is the first time I'm going to be using the Ninja to actually put the video online as an archive. We'll see how that works.
Good luck.
Thanks. All right, everybody. Good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie, and Donna. Thank you, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing. Back up your hard drive and update your virus scanner. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at Computers 2K Now. While you're at it, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, please. Tomorrow morning at 11, it's The Health Inn. At 1 o'clock, it's Breaking Free. We'll see you then.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, Health In with Debbie Brook, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, Reawaken Your Brilliance with Julie Seibert. And if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at www.nissancommunications.com. Sponsored by ThatVidBlasterGuy.com, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.